Um, okay, delegates are coming in. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the fourth and final edition of the Youth Entrepreneurship Network webinar series, which is a series dedicated for young people within the property industry to give them knowledge as to how to be entrepreneurs and how to run businesses. And even if you're an employer, how to guide the next generation into this wonderful industry that we call the property industry. Today, I'm joined by six wonderful, wonderful panelists, starting off with our Rose Amantongs, Ms. Muleweheng Muleti, who is the CEO of Nonofor Property Group. Next, we have Mr. Garashai Emmanuel, who is the Executive Director of Homeworth Properties in Zimbabwe. Then we are followed by Mr. Parkinson In, who is the head of HR and at NEEC Corporate in Cameroon. Then we are joined by Manaka Maras, who is the owner and broker of Maras Realty. We are joined by Mr. Comfort Jumbe, who is the founder of Valuations Africa and MORRCS Real Estate in Arizona in the US, and also operates in Malawi. And lastly, we are joined by Dr. Samson Maretti, who is a Sparrow planning and real estate expert in Zimbabwe. To guide us off today, we have our eccentric moderator, Mr. Justin, who is the chief executive of the Justin Property Group, one of the biggest real estate entities in Limpopo. I wouldn't be surprised if it's all of South Africa. Mr. Justin, with that said, I will leave the floor to you to take over. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Albert, my brother. I really appreciate that intro. Don't worry, we're going to be all over the country. Now we are in Limpopo dominating, but we're going to grow. With such session, obviously, it will build us to grow our brand and our footprint. Firstly, I just want to say thank you so much for your invitation for me to be the moderator of today. I am very humbled to be part of this. And then thank you so much to the Academy of Construction and Real Estate for creating such platform. We need such platform to be able to impact each other and then to learn from other people's experience and to impact the next generation of real estate. So with that being said, the topic of today, I'm telling you, it's loaded. That's why we've got 6 panelists to unpack it with us today. The topic is building sustainable property businesses, innovation, technology, and future trends in property. So today we're going to unpack on how to build a sustainable businesses in real estate as property professionals, and then how innovation can then, give us that kickstart to better our operation in our businesses, and then how can we then incorporate the technology because now it's evolving every year. How do we then incorporate that in our business and make sure that when the future trends of property comes, we are ready to then grow with the trends of the future? And how does the future of the property looks, in our country and obviously in our continent? So we've got 6 panelists. I'm just going to give everyone to just, everyone of our panelists to introduce themselves. I know that Albert gave a brief introduction about them. However, we want to hear their voices as well before we can then give them a platform to present, because they've got presentation for us. So this is a loaded session which we're going to unpack it and make sure that when we leave here, we are impacted and tomorrow we know what to do. It's good to empower each other as African continent to see what is happening in Zimbabwe, to see what is happening in US, and we come together and then we learn from each other's experience. We learn from each other and then be able to then implement those things to prepare the future of property industry, in our continent, even in the US as well, because today we are joined with one of our, our own in US. So with the sequence or the order that I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself, even when we go to presentations, that's how the sequence will go. And then I'll take it after when you guys are done introducing yourselves, then I'll come in just to introduce one speaker by one speaker and give you guys a time frame. And then at the end, then we'll just opening up for Q&As for our delegates. All right. Thank you so much. So I'm going to start with Mr. Emmanuel Vavandanga from Zim. If you can just unmute yourself and introduce yourself, and then we'll then go to the next speaker.
Good evening. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Albert. My name is Gashirai Emmanuel Javandanga. I know it's a tongue twister. It's giving people some headaches.
Hey, sorry, but I'll practice it.
Yeah.
I'll practice it.
No problem at all. No problem at all. So I'm a young built environment professional based in Harare, Zimbabwe. I've got 2 babies that I have, Homesworth Properties, which Eka and Albert are familiar with, where I am a managing partner there. It's a real estate boutique firm that specializes in agency sales brokerage, valuations, property and lettings, property development and construction. Then I've also got another small baby again, which is called Rethink Real Estate. And this one, it's solely owned by myself. It's my other investment vehicle that I use for any other business outside the ones that I've just mentioned before. I'm glad to be here and to be part of this panel. I hope to discuss and also learn as much as I can from our fellow contributors. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Mr. Emmanuel, I'm telling you, next time when we engage or meet, I'm going to pronounce your surname very perfectly. That one, I promise.
Thank you, my brother.
All right, now moving on to the second speaker or one of our panelists is Dr. Samson Mutarisi, also from Zim. If you can just unmute yourself and introduce yourself. So I believe with you, I at least close to pronounce your surname correctly, Mutarisi. Please correct me, doctor, if I'm wrong. Thanks. You can unmute yourself. All right. Okay, I see you just unmute yourself, doctor. You can go ahead. All right, we'll come back to doctor. We just want to move on now to our friend in Cameroon. I know I'm not going to be able to pronounce your name, but your surname. Okay, but I'm going to pronounce your surname is Ina, but your name is a bit difficult, but I'll be able to pronounce it. But the floor is yours, I could say.
All right, thank you. So I must say thank you to ECAS and thank you to my brother PJ for this opportunity. And we met I think about a month or 2 months ago at the Reside Summit. And I was invited there as a speaker, as a delegate from Cameroon. So I'm the head of communication and PR for NEC Corporation. So NEC is written NEEC, where we're reading NEC Corporation. So we're into real estate. We are one of our core projects right now is the building of the first gated community right here in Cameroon. We've never had, we're not developed in real estate like you guys are there, but we're actually coming up good, and we created a good relationship when we came to the Redite Summit. So there are a lot of things we can emulate. So on another side, I'm an economy student, so I'm a PhD candidate in civilizational economics. And of course, questions like real estate, questions like entrepreneurship, they deal a lot with what I study and my everyday work as a partner in the company where I work. So,
all right.
Good.
Okay, thank you so much. We really appreciate that. We're going to move on now to the third speaker on our panel. Now let's fly up to US. We are ready for US. So Mr. Comfort Jumbe, it is your platform. You can unmute yourself and then introduce yourself. Mr. Comfort, Jumbe, you can unmute yourself and then introduce yourself. Mr. Comfort? All right. I see Mr. Comfort seems like he's still with us anyway, but let's just move on to back to South Africa here. We've got our sister. We've got our sister as one of our panelists here. We've got Muleboheng Molotsi. So Muleboheng, you can mute yourself and then introduce yourself.
Hello, panelists.
Hello.
Hello, moderator. Hello, everybody who
Hello.
has joined us online. My name is Moleboheng Muluti. I am the CEO of Nonofo Property Group. I am a property valuer by profession. I am a property practitioner. I am trying to be all things property. I'm a mother. I am a wife. I'm busy. I'm busy. And it's a pleasure to join you today. At Nonofo Property Group, we do property valuations, we do feasibility studies, we do financial modeling. We are busy. And it's a pleasure to join you this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is the right platform for you to be here and unpack the everything that you're talking about. We can't wait to hear that. All right. We're gonna move along now. Let's try our doctor again, Dr. Simon Mutarisi. If you can unmute yourself and come again.
Hello.
Doctor? Yes, doctor. Finally, you are audible to Pastor, doctor. You can speak to us.
Finally, sorry. Apologies, I'm in field, so I just found some way just to do the presentation.
Yes. So Doc,
yeah.
you can just introduce yourself now as we're introducing the panelists. Thereafter, we'll ask you to come in to do your presentation. But for now, just introduce yourself.
Fine. My name is Mtari Samson. I'm a registered valuer, registered estate agent, registered town planner in Zimbabwe. I'm also a lawyer in training. I'm much into town planning and property valuation, and I've done most of the private and public institution valuations for different purposes. So I think in brief, I'm married. I think in brief, that's all. So that may for the sake of time.
Okay, no, thank you so much, doctor. We really appreciate. Please don't disconnect yourself. We need your presentation there. Okay, doctor?
Fine, thanks.
Okay, 100%. Let's try to get hold of Mr. Comfort. Mr. Comfort, can you unmute yourself and introduce yourself before we go to our last speaker?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
100%. Thank you so much, Mr. Comfort. You can go.
I had some glitches. My apologies for that, but I'm glad that I can be audible now and you can hear me.
Okay, we can hear you.
Yes, so as the name easily goes, I'm Comfort Jumbi, currently based in the US, but originally from the warm heart of Africa, Malawi. I know members have already had other presenters that were also from Malawi, which is something I'm excited about, that we're able to partner with the rest of our brothers and sisters across the continent. As pointed out earlier, I am the CEO of Valuations Africa and AMOX Real Estate. I also happen to be a certified appraiser here in the US. So I look at their valuations from how they're doing it here. But with Malawi's environment, I'm also a registered property valuer. I'm in academia, and I run these two companies. And in this event today, I'm very excited because I know Academy of Construction. I was part of their events previously, and to also be part of this session here today, I find it an honor. I hope it's going to be an opportunity to have ourselves together, steer each other, motivate each other, and try to give each other a direction that could be beneficial, especially with the transitions that we are seeing going on in the world. Thank you so much. I'm excited to see what we can talk about and discuss. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Comfort, for giving us that comfort of, word of empowerment and inspiration. we believe that this session, like I said, it's loaded. So we're going to unpack it together. So thank you so much for that. The last speaker is Mr. Makanaka Maverese. I hope I said your surname correctly. If not, please forgive me. You can unmute yourself and then introduce yourself.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good, good. You are very close. It's Mavesere.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Next time when
Yeah.
we meet or when we engage, I'm gonna say your name very correctly. Don't worry, I will practice.
No. Yeah, that's fine. Definitely. My name is Makanaka Mavesere. I'm a young African. I'm based from a very small town in Zimbabwe called Kadoma, and it's also known as the City of Gold. I'm very passionate about real estate. I'm the owner of Mavesere Realty. I'm a young person, I'm a young entrepreneur, and I think most importantly, I'm a young African who's passionate about the future of the continent. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. You know, when you said you are passionate about, the future property of our continent, you are at the right place now, because today's topic, it covers that. It makes us to then be able to think abroad, to think ahead of our future. Because when we look at when we look in our topic, when it said building sustainable property businesses, so then now we need to learn in terms of businesses in our property space, whether it's being a property practitioner, an evaluator, an inspector, and so forth. So today we're going to unpack that, and also the innovation as well, because we are going through the world which is changing. How do we then brace ourselves to get ready and also to improve our businesses as well? Technology is here upon us. Check now, we are all across our continent, even our country, but we are linking together to share ideas and to share experiences and to share other insights of what is happening on the other side of the continent, so that we can be able to then embrace ourselves. And then the future trends of property, where are we heading? What do we look into in terms of the future? And then where does young people also come in as well? So thank you so much for the introduction from our panelists. So we're getting ready now for presentation, and then we'll have our Q&A at the end. So we're gonna ask our first panelist according to the sequence of how you introduce yourself. Mr. Emmanuel, I said I'm going to practice your name, your surname. So hold me to that next time when we meet, whether in this platform or in one of the conferences. When you greet me, don't say anything. I will greet you with your surname. So the platform is yours. I'm just going to give you 20 minutes to do your presentation, and then I'll jump in after that. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you so much. So before we just begin, let me see if I could just share my screen here.
Okay.
Oh man, is it okay if you could let the good doctor speak next? Because I think it's asking me to start, leave the webinar, then rejoin.
Who's asking what?
The Zoom is asking me to leave the webinar before I can share my screen and then rejoin. Is it okay if the good doctor could join, since he said he wants to quickly do his presentation first?
Okay, 100%.
Yeah,
I can allow that.
Yeah.
My good doctor, are you able to join in and do your presentation?
Thank you so much.
Doctors.
Thank you so much.
Right.
Am I audible now?
You are audible, doctor. You can go ahead.
Thanks, I'm here for that. So our presentation theme is building sustainable property businesses, innovation, technology, and future trends. So before doing anything or dwell into the nitty-gritties or the details of this presentation, we need to interpret what the theme want us to look into. I've identified 4 variables on this theme that we need to discuss, or that is going to be discussed during this presentation. I identified the concept of sustainability. There's a concept of sustainability on this theme. I also identified a variable on proper business. That's the second one. Then the third one, innovation and technology. And lastly, the future trends. So I will firstly give you the definitions of these key variables that are identified, so that everyone is in picture of what we are going to discuss in this presentation. So firstly, my presentation tried to explain what is the concept, what is sustainability. And this is, I will just give you a general definition from the Bradley Commission of around 1978. It reads that sustainable development is involved development that meets the needs of the present generation without compromising the needs of the future generation. Meaning those in the present sphere should be satisfied at the same time without compromising the benefit of those who are coming. So the concept, this concept that is put in our theme, it includes the key pillars, which include the social, economic, environmental. Then secondly, there's a definition that I need to give you about the proper business. What is proper business? Which may also be termed real estate business. This is the commercial activity, including proper development, proper sales, management, valuation, as well as auctioneering. Then I also move to the definition of innovation and technology. What is innovation? What is technology? Innovation is the process of turning a new idea into useful products, services, methods, or solutions that create value. And as it stands in our local sphere as African nationals, I think much of our asset, especially as young entrepreneurs, is the intellect. That is the knowledge that we've acquired over here. Financially, we might be on the lower end, but the knowledge that we've acquired over years is the greatest asset that we have. That's innovation and technology. Then we move on to technology. It is a tool, method, and systems people use to solve problems or do the work more effectively. Then a join or an agglomeration of these key definitions will then give us what we term sustainable proper business. And by definition, sustainable proper business entails balancing the key pillars of sustainability in proper sales, valuation, strategies, development, and auctioneering. Those key pillars that I once alluded, the social, economic, political, environmental, need to be balanced so that the business, our businesses as young entrepreneurs, they become sustainable. They become sustainable economically, socially, environmentally, as well as politically. We need to grow across borders. We are doing our business locally in Zimbabwe.
All right, Doctor. Doctor? Doctor, are you still with us? Hi, Doctor. It looks like Doctor is experiencing some network issue. I'm going to chat with the doctor separately. However, I'm not sure if Mr. Emmanuel, if you are ready, then you can also jump in, but we can talk to doctor separately. Right.
Hello.
Hi, Doctor.
Back. Sorry for the interruptions. The network is becoming a challenge this side.
Okay, we can proceed.
Okay, it's fine. I was on the definition of sustainable proper businesses. And I was saying it entails balancing the key pillars of sustainability in proper sales, valuation, strategies, development, and auctioneering, so that our business can sustain the present environment as well as expanding to other nationals as our future environment. Then I developed a proper business cycle with the person who is sharing my presentation can as well share the slides on proper business cycle. So from my understanding and readings that I've done, I developed a proper business cycle. I discovered that proper business is cyclical. That is, I just started or found it noble that we start with the sales. You know what, in property usually, we start from the sale. That's the vacant land. Just maybe at times found the vacant land that is available for development. And that one I took as the first part of my cyclical property business cycle. So from there, there's development. Assuming the person just purchased the vacant land, you do the development. Then you may do the valuations for different reasons. That may be for the progress that has been made, or for maybe acquiring or getting the mortgage. Then lastly, there may be mortgage, there may be property management. That is the property that is the product that is created during this cyclical process is given to estate agents for management. Then the process go back to sale. From management, a person may want to dispose his asset for various reasons. Then we come back to the sale and acquisition through and through. So I've developed this proper business cycle. So from there, I may want to explain these different types of proper businesses, which I've alluded on this business cycle. And these include, as I highlighted, the property sales, development, valuation, as well as property management. So I start by giving a definition of what is property sale business. A property sale business involves transactions related to buying and selling of property. If you're talking of property in real estate, you're talking of those immovable properties. That's land and buildings, whether commercial, residential, institutional, or vacant land. Saying that, how can we enhance sustainability of business? The person who is sharing can share the second slide. Can you share the second slide?
Doctor, can you see the slides? Doctor, can you see the slides?
Can you share the second one? Yes, can you share the second one?
Okay. Can you move to the next one?
Yes,
this one. Yes.
Yeah, the proper sales business. Yes, that one. Yeah, I was on the section of how can we enhance sustainability in proper sales business. Firstly, you need also, as a young entrepreneur, you need to consider the legality of the business. Wherever you want to start a real estate business, either in each and every country, there are legal connotations as far as real estate business is concerned. For example, in Zimbabwe, we've got the Estate Agents Council of Zimbabwe. That's the regulatory body that governs how real estate activities should be undertaken. And for one or a young entrepreneur across Africa to open a real estate company which undertake property sales, he should have a locally registered estate agent as per the Estate Agents Councils Act. You also need a registered company which is registered as per the policies and laws in Zimbabwe. On an annual basis, the Estate Agents Council make it mandatory for all the registered estate agents to have compensation fund certificates. So to enhance your sustainability or your survival in the property sale industry in Zimbabwe, you need to comply to these legal requirements for property sales business in Zimbabwe. Then additionally, in Zimbabwe or even across Africa, as a property entrepreneur, you need to consider the assets or the product that you are selling. All the products should be legit with the clear ownership status, so that you don't sell those products that are not clean. For instance, properties that are allowed to be sold in Zimbabwe or that can enter a market include those with title deeds, council cession, developer cession. And in Zimbabwe, mostly we are restricted, or we are not allowed to sell communal land. Why? Because communal land is said to vest in the hands of the president. He is the one with the right to sell, to lease communal land. So it's illegal for one to sell such an asset. So as a young entrepreneur, you also need to be knowledgeable as far as those issues are concerned, so that you don't compromise, or you don't put your name in jeopardy. Next slide. And I'm moving on now to the next slide. I'm moving to the innovation and technologies in property sales to enhance sustainability. Yeah, nowadays, because of technology across nations, property practitioners usually use virtual property or augmented reality technology. This involves overlaying digital information such as 3D text or images into your real-world environment in real time. This allows remote international buyers to view homes without travel. And from my researches, I found that virtual property or augmented reality generate around 400% more buyers inquiries, and it achieves 75% faster sales. Additionally, we can talk of automates routine tasks. This involves the use of technology to handle repetitive manual work significantly, thus improving efficiency. And you can also talk of digital marketing to enhance sustainability within the property sale industry, the business. This involves marketing products online, listing portals, and social media, which enable agents to reach wider audience and generate leads more effectively. And once the leads are generated, I think you can catch a wider market, thus enhancing the sustainability of a business economically. Then there's also the CRM softwares, which can track leads, emails, chatbots, and 24-hour live chats, which enhance customer experience, and automated updates, which keep clients informed. You can move to the next slide. And property development business. Another arm of property business is the property development business. What is property development business? This involves buying land or existing buildings, or upgrading or rebuilding them, and selling or leasing for profit. And there are two clusters from the findings I've made. There are two clusters as far as property development is concerned. Either you can purchase land for subdivision, you purchase the land for subdivision, you service it, you dispose it as serviced land. Or you purchase the building, you renovate it, or you lease it. Then from the first cluster, how can you enhance that business, that property development business? Before doing anything on the potential land that you want to do development, you need to undertake a feasibility study. And this feasibility study enable one to have a picture or the profitability of what he or she wants to do, so that this prevents costly mistakes or regulatory delays and project failure. Also, you need to, in our local environment, like Zimbabwe, there's a lot of bogus agents and a lot of people who sell land that doesn't belong to them. So as a proper developer or a proper development expert, you need to buy land which is legit, and that will enable you to easily get those development permits. Because for one to undertake a subdivision in Zimbabwe, you need to have clear ownership status of your land. That is, either you've got a title deeds, and which is mostly required. So you need to secure legit land before, so that your development is sustainable and you don't enter into costly challenges. Then in terms of purchasing of building, renovate, let, or sales, You need also to secure legit property, also undertake the feasibility of the business that you want to undertake. Then the innovations in technologies surrounding property development. Nowadays, there is what we call the building information modeling, the artificial intelligence, AI, machine learning, Internet of Things, modular, prefabricated construction. This for the BIM, this involves collaborative, data-driven designs, workflows, 3D visualization, construction planning, and this reduces error, improves coordination, enable precise cost estimation. As from the narration that I have put forward, you see, if you just adopt these innovations and technologies, that will enhance a sustainable development, mostly economically. Because if you are doing business, mostly we are much driven by the economic benefit that are going to be derived from the business. Then artificial intelligence and machine learning, and this will include market data analysis, AI-driven forecasting, predictive modeling, warehouse robotics, and they help identify high demand locations, optimize project designs, anticipate trends, and speed construction. I will move fast to the property management business. I want to move fast to property management business because of time. You can move to property management business, the slides.
Yes, doctor, you only have 5 minutes now to just wrap it up.
It's fine. Let me move fast. The property management business, in terms of the legality, you also need to consider the legal aspect within the nation. For example, in Zimbabwe, like I said, the estate agency is the mandate to manage the property sales and property management business. And the innovation technologies include property management softwares. There are softwares nowadays. We moved away from those primitive way of managing things, properties manually. Now we've got the property management software. We also have cloud-based management systems, AI machine learning. Then I move on to the property valuation business. You can move on to property valuation business. This business is also a highly regulated business. So for sustainability, as far as the operation is concerned, you need to be registered with the relevant body within the country. For example, in our Zimbabwe, we've got the Valuers Council of Zimbabwe. The Valuers Council of Zimbabwe is the regulatory body as far as valuation activities are concerned in Zimbabwe. Also, to enhance sustainability, you also need to adhere to ethics. I think from the past days, I was listening to fellow colleagues who were highlighting much and emphasize on the issue of ethics. So to enhance sustainability in this valuation business, you need to be ethical. Your valuation should not be influenced by a mere individual. Then the innovation technologies include the automated valuation models, artificial intelligence, as well as GIS. Then I'm moving on to the future trends in the industry paradigm shift. You can move to the next slide. The real estate sector is undergoing a definite transition away from manual workflows towards an automated, data-driven framework. So as we all experience that the industry is no longer that primitive and manual as it was by then. It is moving with technology, and there are modern property technologies that are being adopted nowadays, as I once alluded, and these include the Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, machine learning, cloud-based management system, and building information modeling. So for the youth entering this space, this digital disruption shift the competitive advantage from historical tenure. So as a young intellect or a young property practitioner, you need to be acquainted by these technological advantages so that you become relevant in the industry. Then core strategies, I think you move on. Then in my conclusion, just for the sake of time, just move to the conclusion. the conclusion, yes, I want to reiterate that the greatest asset that many young African entrepreneurs possess is their intellectual property. What is the intellectual property? That's the knowledge that we acquired and possessed and the experience. So we need to leverage on that intellectual property, because financially we might have a challenge because of different background, just because it's our, African people, most of them, they are from those serious backgrounds without startups. So as young entrepreneurs in Africa, we need to leverage from our intellectual properties. We need to change that knowledge that we have into formal or physical assets that attract investors so that we scale our startups. I was very impressed by one of my colleagues in Zimbabwe who developed a software, an AI software, that is being used for value estimation, investment advisory, project cost assist, development appraisal. The only thing that I need just to do, if you subscribe to that software, just need to input the data. So I would encourage fellow real estate practitioners or young practitioners to acquaint themselves with the technology that is coming. And the technology is here to stay, and it will go nowhere. So let's embrace that to enhance, to be relevant in the industry and to enhance sustainability as far as the property industry aspects are concerned. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. That was very insightful presentation. I just want to echo on what you have said in terms of we must invest in our intellectual property. That's the reason why we are in this session, to be empowered with knowledge that we can use in our profession. That was amazing. Thank you so much. As you know, that the reason or the purpose of this session is to empower young people as well, and this network exists to do that. So intellectual property is very much important. We have learned a lot in this session that you have on this presentation that you have gave us. So Dr. Simon, we really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Tell me, are you also going to be available for the Q&As? All right. We're going to move on now to our second speaker. I believe that, Mr. Emmanuel, you are ready with your presentation. Like I said, I'm giving you guys 20 to 25 minutes to do your presentation. We just kick off with this insightful presentation from our doctor. So we believe that the delegates that are on now, you already see that this platform is for education and empowering us. Let me just remind everyone in terms of the topic of today is building sustainable property businesses, innovation, technology, and future trends in property. So I'm going to give this time to the next panelists to present their presentation. Mr. Emmanuel, the platform is yours.
Thank you, Justin, and thank you to the good doctor for laying out the foundation for me. So I'm sure now is my presentation clear on the screens?
Yes, it is.
Awesome. So I'm grateful for the good doctor that is taking us and laid the foundation for me. He was my senior in varsity, by the way.
Oh, that's
so
great. That's great.
He has laid out the definitions, and we have got an appreciation of what real estate and the real estate business is. So there is a conclusion that he made, and the concluding remarks that he made is, as youth entrepreneurs, how are we going to take all this knowledge that we have and apply it practically and in our businesses, in our lives, and help us to get into business as real estate practitioners? And that is essentially what I'm going to do. So this is going to be the overview of my presentation. Firstly, we are going to go on the principles of starting a business, which is a property business. Then we are going to see laying the foundation of the entrepreneurship journey, then the practical sources of capital available to youth. Then we go to the core theme of this discussion, the sustainable property business, innovation, technology, and the future trends in property. So in Economics 101, to start a business, there are 4 factors of production that are required, which is land, capital, labor, and entrepreneurship. And these are defined as given in the slides. And as youth, we face a challenge as expressed throughout the week as we were discussing, that as youth, we are limited in terms of the resources that we have to start a business. So as a youth, the question that you have in your head is, what do I have at my disposal to start a business? Definitely the land, the one that we want to have access to. We don't have the capital. We don't have the funding. So what we have, as the good doctor alluded earlier on, is we have got the labor, which is at our availability, the skills that we can use, and the entrepreneurship. It now involves us combining all these factors and putting them into practice. I hope this presentation will be as practical as possible. And I tried to mirror it to my journey on how I also began as a youth in business. So from the previous discussions that we had and the principles that we have just established, entrepreneurship, which is starting a business, requires resources, right? And these resources require capital funding. Then the access to funding or capital, right? It requires bankability. And bankability is usually the assets or the reputation. When it comes to assets, as youth, I think we mentioned earlier that we are limited in terms of the assets and the funding that we have. So we don't have the assets to actually initially start the business that we want to have. So the only resource that we can try to leverage on or tap into it's the reputation. So as youth, where do we get this bankability? Despite the barriers that we have, as we are discussing, there is a way to manage our entry level costs into starting a real estate business. I think in the earlier discussions that we discussed, there is a model that's called incremental investment model, where you start at a small pace. And for us, our entry level would be targeting the service industry. The service industry, they've got low entry barriers in terms of capital that is required. And as youth, that is where we want to try to tap into. So this is like the basic framework that I sort of took in my journey, which the goal was to try and leverage into the expertise and building a credibility, building my knowledge, building my experience, and in turn, building my reputation. So what I would encourage every youth that is out there, invest in knowledge and experience to build credibility. This will involve you going into school, in universities. This will involve going you to master classes. This will also involve you going to working under internships. Sometimes you're not going to be paid for the work that you're going to do. But in your mind, you should tell yourself that at least I am getting experience and I'm building a reputation and I'm building credibility, because that's what you have as your access to the resources that you can at the moment. Then you build a network and build relationships. That will allow you for strategic partnerships. And when we're looking at this, you can only do it when you're on the ground. So when you're building networks, make sure that the networks that you're building and the relationships that you're building, they will allow for you for the strategic partnerships that you have, the goal that you have in the future. Make sure that the people that you're surrounding yourself with are people that are going to help you in your strategic partnership. Explore areas of collaborations and partnerships. This is also something that is accessible to us as youth, where we can tap into the networks that we have and explore areas of collaborations and partnership. As youth, the goal is to combine our expertise with trust, building credibility and reputation. And when we are here as well, where we are trying to explore potential areas of collaborations and partnerships, I think there is something that we also have to look out for. We need to identify individuals that have got the same value system as us, because some partnerships could be detrimental to you. I remember when I was starting off, I think I made a mistake. My first partnership was a terrible partnership because we had different value systems and the goals that we had. So it was a terrible, terrible partnership. But I'm glad that I learned it earlier on. So when you're here, that's one thing that you need to look out for. You need to build partnership and explore areas of collaborations, but with people that have got the same value systems as you. Whilst we are there, a good name is better than gold. I think the good Bible tells us about that. So essentially what we're just trying to do here is we're trying to build a reputation and credibility. And the moment you start building reputation and credibility, I think yesterday, there was a presentation on marketing. Those guys were spot on in terms of encouraging us and teaching us on this issue of building reputation and credibility. So since now we do not have assets, right? Our bankability is built on our skills and expertise. And you'll find that once your reputation is a good reputation and it's out there, you have built a name for yourself, you've built a brand for yourself, you become bankable. People begin to trust you now. And now you have tapped into the resource that you had, which was an intangible resource. Now you are able to access that capital and funding that you require for you to grow into the other areas of business that were explored by our fellow doctor, which are in real estate. So the sources of funding that are available to you, especially when you're starting as a youth, the first point that you have, I think your first source would be your personal savings. That's where you can tap into your personal savings are your first sources of income. So that's your equity. Then the second one, I believe the bank of mom and dad, that's what I called it, or family and friends. If you're fortunate enough, you can tap into this as well. Mom and dad, you present your business ideas to them. And because you have built a reputation for yourself, you have made you now have got a bankable business plan. You have got a bankable character. You now have got a good reputation. People will now start to listen to you, and you have gained trust for people to start to consider investing in your business that you want to tap into. The other second and the other third option that is available to us as youth, it's called crowdfunding. In Zim, we call it Mukando. And in SA, I think they call it Stockvales, where they're a group of people or group of friends. I'm glad that in our generation now, it's more structured. We've got banks that are there now that can allow for Mukando and Stockvales to hear. In Zim, POSB has started also, they've got a product that's there for Mukando. I advise when you're here, explore it if it's a structured Stockvale. Don't do backdoor crowdfunding or Stockvales. You cry tears. Explore the options where they are structured. You've got a bank that's there. Then you can tap into that. Then after that, you can now begin to tap into other alternative sources of incomes. These are the traditional sources of incomes. And I think there was a day that presentations were made where you can now try to go to banks. But I'm sure when you go to the banks, they will now start to require some formal bankability. They've got some restrictions that are there. So whilst we are here, there are some key important things to take note of. Different funding models carry different risk profiles, and hence there are different costs of capital that you should expect to take. Personal savings, the bank of mom and dad and friends, I'm sure they might not charge you some interest. But when you go to the traditional banks, they'll charge interest on the capital that they'll give you, on the debt that they'll give you. So you should expect to go for that. It is also important to emphasize financial discipline when we are here. If there is an option for debt, make sure that it is a productive loan. What do I mean that it's a productive loan? When someone gives you the debt, make sure you invest in productive assets, something that you're using as working capital for your business. Don't make it a consumptive loan. We have got a problem, I think, as youth. That's where sometimes we lack. The moment we get funding now, we start to abuse that funding. And sometimes we try to flush it out before we have even made it. Personally, it is my personal opinion. I believe there's nothing good that comes from showing people that you've got money. That's my personal opinion, because you'll start to attract the tax man. You attract the tax man, and it also becomes very much difficult for you to establish or build genuine relationships with people, because you don't know what people are coming for. So after now you have started your business, you have entered the entrepreneurship journey, that business needs to be sustainable. And I think the good doctor explained very well what a sustainable business is and what it takes to have a sustainable business. Basically, for your business to be a sustainable business, it has to achieve long-term value creation. And this needs constant innovation and adaptability. A sustainable property business is a relevant property business. So what you need to do is to be able to see the challenges that are within the property sector that you're operational in, and try to address the challenges or answer the challenges that are within those through innovation. And innovation usually involves having the proper technology to address those challenges. From my observations, I see that a lot of technology discussions, they focus too narrowly on the activities such as building, which is construction, and the marketing of real estate assets. For example, we focus too narrowly on the 3D printing, the virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, smart payments, robotic cells, etc. This is a huge forest, in my opinion, and there are so many plants and trees to focus on. I believe for you to be more practical, you need to focus on the ground. And what do I mean by saying that? I believe you need to take the alternative route. Look at the impact of technology on the activities of people. Look at the impact of activities that shape how people use, how people demand, how people appreciate, how people behave in your society. That impact now will determine the use of real estate within our markets and our resources. What do I mean? For instance, let's look at the topical issue of AI, which is there now. AI is regarded as the new .com, and it has disrupted every aspect of our lives as people. It's now changing the way people do business, the way people go to work. It means that in the near future where we are going, companies are going to become smaller and smaller. What does that mean for the office sector? Those are the questions you should ask yourself. Are they going to be requiring more small office spaces? What are we going to do with all these big office spaces that we have? We look at the new innovations that are happening now. You now have got flexible office working environments that are happening or coming up. It's because of the technology that has been made accessible to the world. So when you look at that, it helps you now to try and to try and see where things are moving and where you can try to leverage and put yourself as a real estate business. Technology has changed the way people use retail, the way people shop. It has changed the way people are using industrial space. So it is redefining it is redefining what we call location, visibility, and accessibility, which were the core advantages of real estate in the previous generations that were there. Now, location, visibility, they mean different things. For instance, look at us just now. We are from different countries, but we are here and we're able to have a conference and a meeting and a webinar without using any use of resources, without going to book a conference hall. Everyone is in their individual places. So that's what you try to look for. How is technology changing people? How is technology, how people use and behave in their populations? The other thing that we need to look out for, especially in this new, I think we are now at the future trends of property. I think there is a lot of globalization that is now happening. It's no longer safe to be isolated. And we are now living in a globalized, and our profession is becoming globalized. I can access clients that are in South Africa. I can access clients that are in Zambia. I can access clients that are in Botswana. And it's a good move that is happening. So that's what we also need to tap into as young people and take advantage of. You look at the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. That has opened up the markets as well, because I think as Africa, we have realized that our markets are too small to be segmented on their own. So we need to tap into these other markets. You look at the population in Botswana, it's about 2 million. Zimbabwe is 15 million, Malawi 22. But we need to open it up to be bigger so that we can have access to all these different markets. So technology has allowed us, and it's allowing us as youth as well, to tap into all this and to have access into all these other different markets that are there. With all this said and done, in my conclusion, I believe AI has leveled the playing field in the property market. The difference or the gap between the large corporate consultants and the small SMEs now, I think the gap has now been made small because of AI. There are now tasks that you can do quickly and quicker. You can now produce more resources quicker. And this is an advantage for us as youth as well. So it can allow us to start our own companies and be able to play in these fields where there are big corporates there. The next thing that I would encourage is for us to invest in training and capacity building. Invest in your circle of competence. Network as much as you can. You are an average of the people that you spend much of your time with. So that's what you need to do as a youth and as a person, because this journey is not easy. You need to be prepared for it. And there are times that you might want to give up. You need people that are there to encourage you, that are on the same, and like I mentioned earlier, people with the same value proposition that will help you and assist you in going on and keeping forward. And these interactions, like the ones that we are having just now, they also help you to understand and know that the problems that we have, they are not isolated. So at least that also encourages us to continue being in the game. So let us aspire to contribute to our communities. It's up to us. It's up to us to do that. And for me, I think one thing that I'm going to advise young people out there, in conclusion, this is my final submission. We as youth, we overestimate how much we can do in a year, but we also underestimate how much can be achieved in 5 years. Basically, what I'm saying is we are people that want to rush in doing things. We must be patient. It takes time to build something that's solid, that's good, that's sustainable. And your goal must not be to be the biggest real estate company in your area or in your company. Your goal must not be the richest. Your goal has to be the go-to person, the go-to consultant. What do clients, when clients think of a service that they need, they must have you in mind. And how can you do that? By mastering, master your work ethic, master what you put out there, so that the moment someone thinks of a product or a service that they need, they think of you instead of that big corporate that's out there. So that's my humble submission. I'm looking forward to the questions. I hope this was as practical as possible as it can be. Thank you.
We are in a youth entrepreneurship network. Thank you so much, Mr. Emmanuel. How you connect your presentation with our a good doctor presentation, they are just flowing so nice. So that is very insightful. Thank you so much for that presentation. We really appreciate. Guys, I think that when we look at the presentation from Mr. Emmanuel, my takeaway is that build value onto your name so that you can be bankable. So that is very powerful. As a young person, make sure that you build value into your name so that people can be able to bank onto your name. So building your name is very much important. He also mentioned the reputation. So sometimes we need to be in the spaces where we network with the right people to build that reputation. And then in closing, he said, we are a community. So you can't do this thing by yourself. You need to belong to the community. You need to attend events and socialize and network. So, Mr. Emmanuel, thank you so much. We will build a value into our name. We appreciate your presentation.
Thank you, Justin.
All right. As Mr. Ina, you're ready to go. I just want to say to our stakeholders who are joining us, please write down the questions so that when the Q&A session comes through, you are able to ask the question. We are here to empower each other. We are here to learn from each other. We are here so that we can be empowered. And then tomorrow we can go to the world and make a difference and join this community and build that value onto our names. So please just write down the questions. We'll have like a Q&A at the end and you're allowed to ask questions. Mr. Ina, are you ready with your presentation?
I am ready. So let me see how I share my screen. I hope I don't have any issue here. Okay.
Okay. Whilst Mr. Ina is busy,
I'm fine. I'm fine now.
fine. Right, 100%.
Can we go ahead?
Yeah, we can. The platform is yours.
Okay, thank you. So, thank you already. It was good from the good doctor and from Mr. Emmanuel who just came in, and it was a good flow. The good doctor actually explained everything it takes to understand what is a property business, and because before you know how to succeed in something, you must know what the thing is. So, and most of us sometimes miss the obvious thing that we think we already know. And Emmanuel really came in with some practical advice as to how do you start, where do you start, how do you get the capital, and that's very interesting. So I'm going to bring another view, another perspective about this. So, and my view is going to go to look at first why houses or buildings have an important place in the way we live. So, and from there is actually two lenses. Two lenses because it is one thing that when we grew up and when we were born in houses. So when you grow up and finally venture in and finally venture into real estate or into property business, you understand that there's a deeper value to it. And one of the biggest part of this deeper value is the fact that houses are not just houses when you're in the property business again, because you have to provide something people want to buy, people where people are going to be comfortable in, and something that's going to build development across the country or across the community. So what you grew up to know as a house or a home becomes something else. It becomes a pillar on which the whole community or the whole nation or town actually is depending on. So on one side, we have, will what you're bringing as a solution, is it going to be durable? So we grew up and we knew that, okay, to draw a house, you just need to make a triangle sign, then you put a square under. But it will not always work like that, especially when you're young into the sector, because you have to bring an innovation around it. Then the next thing is that, do we build anywhere? And we don't build anywhere. That's why there's a development lens, because you need to understand why we build and where we build. So how does your building or your company develop the country or the community? So that's why you see here I wrote that property is not just a market, it's a civilization question. So you need to know what you're going into and what you're doing. So it doesn't just have to do about, okay, how do I create this company, or I think I will love this sector and I want to get into it. So the first thing that I delved on is the opportunity. And there is just so much when it has to do with opportunities in Africa, because at the same time, Africa is the fastest urbanizing region on earth because of our population, because of our youthfulness, because of the quantity of people coming to major cities. But at the same time, we are the most underbuilt region on earth. On earth. So, and you have, especially as a young person in 2026, you have to start from that point of view, from the point of view that there is just so much to be done, and you can't just come and do the same thing that's already been done. So you can't say, okay, I'm a young person, I'm going to look for people in my family who can invest and who erect a building. When we erect it, we're going to look for tenants. That will not be covering the property gap. It will not. And you're going to be very shallow even when you'll be looking for financing, because as a young person, especially if you're coming from a humble background, you have a lot of difficulties to raise capital if you're not creative. So the first point that you have to consider is the point of the fact that we are under supplied. So cities grow faster than housing stock. So the shortage is a market signal, not a market failure. So the first thing that you need to think about is that, okay, is what I want to build or the vision that I have for my company or for all the property that I'm going to develop, are we going to cover for this undersupply problem? You should be clear about it. If you're not covering but that, you should be also clear about that. So the next thing is about we are a very young population. So when, for example, in a city like Douala, where I am right now, if you want to build houses, you have to build houses that young people can buy. You will have to build something that young people can afford. And if you're in Africa too, you know that when you're in Africa below your 30th, your 30th anniversary or your 30th year, you cannot afford to buy a, what we call right now in everything that we saw here, a luxury property. You can't afford. So as a young person, you already cannot deal with the luxury properties. You can't. You will not have the means for that. So the next point is that you cannot live on templates. You cannot, because what many people in real estate do, in the way they advertise, the way they communicate, and the way they build, they will get a template or a trend on Pinterest and just take it and force it on the people, and now market something people never asked for. So, and we actually have to look out for all of this, because that's what is going to make for your offer as a young property business owner. Then the next point that we have is, what are you exactly offering and to whom? And this point, most times, if you meet people who deal into property or real estate, they are actually going to have difficulties to give you in one line or in one sentence what they do. And I understand that it's pretty hard, but it has to be clear. And why does it have to be clear? Because in this business, you will need capital. You will need capital. You will need the network. You will need to meet people. And for you to find your way, you have to be very fluent about the solution you're bringing and very clear about the vision that you're carrying for that community or for the zone that you're trying to develop properties in. So the first thing is that you need to name the client. You can't say that, okay, we are going to build houses. So the example that together with my colleague we shared at the Reside Summit was that we started off like a construction company. We did not start in the property industry. And we discovered it was really hard for people to have funds on their own to build their houses. So we had to get creative about it. So our question now was that, okay, people can only afford installments or monthly payments. So how do we create a system or build houses where people can pay instrumentally or pay on a monthly basis? And that's how we got into real estate and we got into the gated community business. So you need to be really sure. You need to find a problem that you are solving. In that sense, now it's going to be very easy to market and to sell. So right now, to sell is practically easy because what we are trying to do in terms of business model is new. So if what you are bringing is not a new or an independent business model, you're going to have a lot of effort to put into the marketing. So the next thing is to name the pain. I spoke about that, not the feature. So what we always see in property is that, okay, this is a big house, 2 rooms, 3 bedrooms, with a pool, with a jacuzzi, and people don't really care like that, except you're doing in the very high level, premium level of real estate where you're delivering luxury houses. People will not really care about the features. People will care how can they buy the place. That's the first thing. And the second thing, if they are going to be, even though that house is not a luxury house, are they going to be comfortable in terms of heat or in terms of cold? Then the next thing is to name the proof and not the promise. So I did a lot has to do with the future. So for example, if I say I help diaspora buyers secure verified land or houses in Douala without ever having to stepping on a flight, then very clearly people know in which part of real estate that I am dealing with. So, but it's not the case for many people in real estate. They do the whole of the property business. You can't do the whole of the property business. So, on the next point, we have innovation. And on this point, Emmanuel just said that when we talk about innovation, there's a lot of 3D, augmented reality, and 3D printing, augmented reality that comes over, or prop tech. But that might be the technology part of innovation. But there's another simple part of innovation. And that simple part of innovation is just about solving what people are looking for. So are people in your neighborhood or community, are dealing with day-to-day businesses and they can't afford a big payment on a big one-time payment for a house? That's what you should look out for. The second thing is that, how is the climate at that place? Do people have to actually depend a lot on fans, on ACs? So what kind of houses you, for example, your only solution could be that you know you're building climate friendly houses, and that will be a pretty good offer. And people will not mistake you with any other person. So then, we have two things here. On one side, we have copying the trends. So the trends, we know what it is prop tech, is augmented reality, is AI in building, is very good and helpful. But in the core is that for the normal African person, are you solving his problem? So I want to make sure, I think I went a little bit fast. I want to make sure that we are still getting ourselves clearly. Are we?
Yeah, we are still with you.
Okay, great. So let me share. Wait 1 minute.
Presentation,
Okay,
and you can go.
great. Okay, great. So, okay,
Thank you.
1 minute. Fine. So I was saying that on one side you have copying trends, so builds for a market that doesn't exist here, and which is what we always do, always. So you see a very huge project, and you see a couple of people coming together, and they will build houses in copy an Occidental way or a Western way of building, and later on putting a lot of effort in the marketing because you're actually now trying to convert people who never asked for that particular kind of building. So the next thing is optimizing for what investor deck. So
Excuse me, Mr. Ina. Mr. Ina,
yes,
we
yes.
can't see your presentation now.
Oh, let me wait.
If you can just flag your presentation.
Okay, wait. Let me try again.
It's good to
Oh,
see your face, but we would like to see the presentation
okay.
as
Yes,
well.
I know, of course. Is it good? But were you seeing the present? Are you seeing the presentation now?
There we go. Yeah, you can just press on presentation, then you are good to go.
Fine. Are we fine?
Yeah, you can take us to the slide that you were presenting.
Okay. Is this fine?
Yes, you are still under solving. Here's what's here, right? The problems.
Yes.
Solving.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, you can proceed. Thank
Okay.
you.
So there are three things that you can do to innovate easily. So the first thing is that how do people buy? How do people buy property here? How? And this depends from one city to the other. For example, there are places like right here in Cameroon where you won't find fractional ownership. And it's not even because people don't like it, and it's mostly because people nobody has initiated it before. Meanwhile, there is a need for that. So if you're a young property business or you're a young real estate company, you will want to look at how people buy. The next thing is that how do people build? And this has a lot to do with comfort, climate, uh, dynamism of the house, the design, how many people can live in the house, how many people can visit the house. You have to know. And when you're actually dealing with in an African context, it's not the same if you're dealing with a Western context because they will not receive as much people as we do receive here in Africa. So you will have to consider that. The next thing is how people pay. How do people pay? So when you live in an economy where um, people are not really always doing bank transactions like here in sub-Saharan Africa, where people deal a lot with mobile money, you might have to adapt either as to how you collect your rents or to how you collect your installments. You have to adapt, and that's innovation. Creating something that is adapted for people's needs, that's innovation. So the third thing is uses constraint. So how do you deal for water if you're actually building a townhouse, for example? How do you get the water? How do you get the electricity when you know that electricity and water, for the most part of sub-Saharan Africa, is never stable? So you have to know how you're going, where you stand in terms of the promise that you're making to your prospect or your current customer. The next point is line titles. I don't know how you guys call it over there in Southern Africa, but here, what actually tells legally that a land is yours is the line title. And you want to be sure that you are building a property on something that you verified. So I will not deal a lot on this because the good doctor actually said a lot on this part. Okay, so the next part is about now when you have already gotten that part of innovation. So already I made a good separation between innovation and technology. So innovation is the part where you look at people's problems and you actually bring a solution that is adapted. You don't sell to us what you think. No, you sell to us what we need. Then the next thing is now technology as to how you can make that, smart, how that process can be smart. So technology to serve the person, not the transaction, not the capital behind it. And if you make technology to serve the capital behind it, you might go and sign a contract with a PropTech company that will help you to manage all your property. Meanwhile, you have not diagnosed or audited your system to see how your tenants would like to pay, how your customers would like to pay. So you want to really start from point zero, really understand what are your needs, and if you're actually going to sign any partnership with the prop tech, or if you are going to sell your building through virtual reality, you have to be sure that what people are going to be seeing in the virtual reality glasses will be something that actually answers to what you're looking for. So there are 4 points here. The first point is access. So mobile phone first tools that meet people where they already are. So if you're a young company and you want to put technology into your real estate business, get to people through their phones. So you have social media, you can create an app, you can create a website, but to deal with this part of access will be the easiest part for you to actually digitally transform or upgrade your company. The next thing is trust. So take that verifies title, ownership, reducing fraud risk, and mind you, you can even in this sector decide that you want to be a solution provider for each and every part of these pillars. So I can say I want to help, property businesses sell their services online easily. That could be a whole business, but you see how to go about it. The next thing is trust. You can build a business that will help people verify that, okay, this land actually belongs to this person, and detect if there's a fraud risk on the land or on the property. So when we were in Redite Summit, we actually saw a platform, I can't remember the name, but they would help you to know if this particular tenant has ever had issues, litigations around his former rent, and it will help you vice versa to know if this landlord has already had legal issues with his former tenants. Very interesting. So the next is inclusion. You need to have platforms that actually widen who can participate, not just who can pay. You need to consider that. The next point, and which is the last, is dignity. So dignity in the sense that what we you often find around Africa is that when we build and we sell, we will often say we are selling modern properties. And especially when you're dealing with clients, I don't really think that that particular part of modernity or the modern aspect of what you're selling is always fitting with the dignity aspect. And dignity, why? Because as a people and as a continent, we have our own values, we have our own preferences, we have our own language, our own context. So you might want to actually use this background, a background that actually dignifies not only who we are, but the way we see things. So here on the next thing, and here I'll have to come back on the part of trends because it has to do with everything. So everything as to how you build your property business and how you grow it. So there's a lot happening in the US, in Dubai, around real estate. But you need to just watch out for the fundamentals, not the trends, the fundamentals. So I wrote here that chasing every new trend, co-living, prop tech apps, short-let arbitrage, without asking if it fits the market, your capital base, or your client's reality is how young professionals burn out fast and build nothing durable. So, for example, if you want to bring in some innovations and couple it with some technologies, and you get a capital, you succeed to get capital from people who are here or from banks that are based here, you need to be careful that what is sounding very beautiful that you saw in Dubai or in the US or in UK that you're trying to bring here will actually solve a problem and will actually serve the purpose of the loan that you took for that. If not, you might get into trouble because you might do co-living and people can't live together, or you might do short-let arbitrage and it doesn't work, and that will make you to have a lot of issues. You might have to go to court and trying to find a lawyer. That will just cost you so much. So there are three things that you can ask yourself very easily. So does this trend, this thing, this new thing, this new wave solve a real problem here, or just look good? And if you answer that question, it will help you. The next question is that can my market actually sustain this model for 5 years? So if people, for example, have to pay you through a loan, which is something that is done in other countries, and people have to pay you through a loan, will it work? Will it work over 5 years? Because sometimes something has not yet been done in your country because it's not feasible, not because people are retarded. So the last thing is, am I building a business or am I chasing someone else's case study? Why? Because right now there's a lot happening with building in public. So you see a young guy on Instagram telling you, "Okay, watch me as I build my real estate empire," and he's doing a lot of good things. So fine. Sometimes they're very inspiring, but you should be sure that you're building a business and that you're not trying to copy or to take different case studies and trying to see how you can fit them into your model. You might actually fall short. So, and it's a caution. So the last part is the part of creativity. So Mr. Emmanuel spoke a long time about how you get capital. And for me, I sincerely believe that capital has a lot to do with your creativity. So, for example, if you're building something that people have already seen and that is not new, of course you have difficulties to raise capital than somebody who is bringing something that is leaner, cleaner, or more adapted to what the country is actually looking at. So most young professionals think they need more money before they can move, and the ones who wins first usually see an angle no one else used: a financing structure, a partnership, a story. So, for example, there are a lot of African funds where you can actually apply for capital, but you need to produce. For example, there is if I don't miss it, there is recently a Rwandan young person who got a financing from IFC, International Finance Corporation, and his business is young. His business is 5 years old, and is getting a couple of $1 million financing because he actually found out a way of building with blocks, the red African blocks that we have here, and that will permit people not to use AC around that place. So at the same time he's serving sustainability on this side. At the same time, he's helping people get houses where they're going to be comfortable in sub-Saharan Africa, where most time it's very hot and we don't have winter. So the first point here is that how do you structure your deals before you have capital? So are you going to have a broker? Are you going to co-develop? Are you going to do a joint venture? You decide that. You decide that. For example, on our own perspective, since we came from a construction background, we have been seeing various. We had to look for land, and in the process of looking for land, we eventually even started selling land. But also, that permitted us not only to know what a land is and to know the different ways we can purchase the land, and to create the system, or to create the network that we need to get a land, and know how we can actually clear the payment slowly. So you decide how your story looks like, but sometimes you will have to enter into a particular line of business just because you want to build the network for the next stage. So the third point is to turn local knowledge into your unfair advantage. So there's always a lot happening around, especially in Africa. There is a way that we were building things before the colonizers came. So you can build on that. There are always innovations in there. You can always build on that. The mud walls are actually more thermodynamic than the block or concrete walls. So you might want to build on the legacy that we already have, then take a bit from the Western culture, take a bit from what people are actually asking, and you'll be solving a problem that people would love to buy. So you'll be bringing a solution that people would love to buy. So see the angle before you see the fonts. It will help you. Then the next point is resilience. Resilience because yes, you can be productive, you can get the right partnerships, but you're going to receive a lot of no's. So just you should be prepared when going into the sector that you're going to receive a lot of no's, and that's where the resilience actually stands in. And so when you receive a lot of no's. I mean, the vision that you have and your dedication to seeing it come to pass is what will differ from you and to another person that will back down. So, cycles, currency shifts, slow bureaucracy, clients who change their mind is just part of the job. It's just part of the job. So you need to know how you build your catch buffer. You need to know how you diversify income, and you need to know how you build long relationships. Now, here, when I mean a relationship, I don't mean sign partnership. I mean real human relationship, either with your banker or with the community from which you're buying the land, or from the people with whom you are doing the joint venture on the property development. You need to create a long, friendly human relationship that has nothing to do with what you sign, because sometimes you might not be able to deliver on what you promised on the contract, but the long-term relation and the deep human relationship that you created will help you out. So as a conclusion, there is so much you can do right now to be out there. So I have a friend and a brother who now lives abroad, who just started recently sharing some real estate opportunities available in our country, Cameroon. And he has been having some people interested and even wanting to invest. So as a young person, social media is a big leverage for you. You have to be out there. You have to be visible. You have to show up what is happening, what you do. You need to go to events like the Reside Summit, or partner with the ACAS team. You need to why not sometimes create your own events when there are no events in your own context or country. The next thing is that you need to document. So if you say that, okay, I'm building a townhouse, you need to document it. How is it going? People love sharing your journey. They don't just love sharing the product. When people share the whole journey, they are convinced that the product you're selling is not just yours. It's something that that they are building together with you. So the last thing is let proof speak. So case studies and client stories sell harder than slogans. So if you have testimonials of people who have been working with you, even if it's the construction materials company you're partnering with, even if it's the bank you're partnering with, who can endorse you, who can testify that they have had a good time working with you, financing your project, having this journey with you, that proof is actually going to speak better than, okay, we are building the best house in Nairobi. It will speak higher than that. And with social media, you can build videos on that, put it out there, and people will get interested. You will gain some legitimacy, and that will help you not only for investors, but also and always for customers. So remember, in a nutshell, coin your offer, innovate for here, not for elsewhere. Put humans first, stay creative and resilient, build a network, be visible, and you have good success in the property business. So that is what I had to share so far.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate your presentation. Mr. Ina, that was a very insightful presentation. We are busy empowering the next generation of property entrepreneurs in Africa. So thank you so much for that. My takeaway on your presentation is that what problem are you solving? That's the most important thing. When you enter into our sector, yeah, there is a lot of duplicates in terms of services. But when you come in as a young entrepreneur, you need to sit down and rethink, what problem am I solving? So once you get that, people, they will pay just for the solution. So thank you so much, Mr. Ina. I really appreciate your presentation. So moving along now, we are going to the next panelist, which is our speaker, Mr. Makanaka. My goodness gracious me. Let me just do justice to your name before you can come in and then, fight me. We're going to have our next presenter now, Mr. Makanaka. He's going to do the presentation. The presentation are just flowing. I believe that as young people or as young entrepreneurs in Africa, we must learn from each other, and we can see how when we learn from other people's story, then we become more powerful. Mr. Makanaka, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. The floor is yours. You can go.
Perfect. Today we're building Africa's future.
Yes.
My name is Makanaka Mavesere, and I'm the owner and broker of Mavesere Realty. And as you can see our logo there's an elephant. That elephant represents our totem and the reason why I started this business, because I wanted to build generational wealth for people in my family. My grandfather left wealth for his father, who then left wealth for me. So I felt that I needed to carry that forward, and I want to share this journey with you guys and talk about how we can do it through African property, African innovation, and youth power. Next slide, please. So you'll find that the African continent is a great opportunity because a lot of people say we're a developing continent, but I think Africa is the next emerging giant. Why do I say this? Because we have 1.4 billion people on this continent, and it's the second most populous on Earth. 75% of our population are under 35, which makes us the youngest continent in the world. We have a GDP collectively of 3 trillion, which is projected by 2050, which makes us the fastest growing economies globally. And we have the #1 urbanization rate with 500 people moving to cities by 2015. So the question really is not if Africa will rise. The question is who will build it. And I truly believe that it's the young people. Next slide, please. So why real estate? Well, real estate, 90% of millionaires made their wealth through real estate. So I think real estate is a great wealth creation vehicle for young people because it's a tangible asset. Land never disappears. I believe that the African land is for Africans, and that's our heritage, and we must hold that because property can hold value across many generations, and land is the perfect place and an essential asset that each person must own. It appreciates over time with our values from 8 to 15 on an annual basis across the continent. And real estate is perfect because even during periods of recessions, hyperinflation, policy shift, or economic and political turmoil, the asset appreciates regardless. It's a great way to generate passive income because once you have passive income, you free up time and you make more income streams and you can make even more money. So I think real estate is the perfect vehicle for young people because it also preserves value. Today you can buy a property for 10,000, but in the next 10, 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, it will be worth even more, even up to 100% and beyond. So it's well structured for generational wealth creation. And it's a perfect asset that we as Africans should hold, and we should maybe embody or copy what the Indian and Jewish families are doing, because Africa is our culture, the land is our culture, it's our security, it's our power, and we need to embody. We need to look at other ethnicities and try and adopt some of their wealth creation abilities. Next slide, please. So I come from a very small town. It's called Kadoma, and it's a mining town, and it's it's a very small town. It's a town that a lot of people pass by. So I started my real estate business at the age of 21 while I was working doing my internship on my third year as a real estate student at the University of Zimbabwe back in 2019 at the age of 21. And I had passion, I had conviction, I had God on my side. And I started just by doing tenant placements, which meant that there was a very large demand of people who wanted accommodation in Kadoma as it was growing economically. A lot of people were moving to Kadoma. So the first thing I started to do was do tenant placements. And the beauty about tenant placements is you don't really need to have any capital. You don't really need to own anything. You simply need to know where a house is, and you need to connect a tenant with the landlord, and you can make something with that. So at the age of 21, I made my first $20. By 24 in 2022, I had been able to register as a value at the Valuers Council. And at that age, even I had created 6 various income streams, which I think is good for young people, especially considering that unemployment is very high for us and we're the largest demographic on the continent. So I think creating income streams and should be something that young people should look into. I was able to scale my portfolio at the age of 28. I was able to do a market research for and evaluation for the first Zimbabwean REIT, which was the Tigere Property Fund. And at the age of 29, I was nominated by ACRE at the Africa Valuation Council. So I'm not really saying all of these things to sort of seem like I'm better than anyone or arrogant or anything like that. No, the picture I'm trying to paint is that as young people from an early age, we can really start small and grow big. So that's the picture I wanted to paint there. I didn't wait until I had the perfect plan. I just started with passion and I had faith that I could succeed. I didn't have investors. I had no connections. I had no blueprints. I just had a town and a vision. And I felt that that is something young people must have on our continent. We must have vision. We must have patience. We must have passion, and we must have faith. Kadoma story. So Kadoma, it's a small town. It's developing very quickly, and a lot of people tend to overlook it because of the development. There's a lot of dust, but they don't see what I see. Kadoma is a small mining town. It's known as the city of gold. So I think young people, regardless of where you are, because I think what I want to paint here is the narrative that you need to be in a big town to get something done. No, that's not how it worked. In the 1960s, Dubai was a modest trading and fishing port and was surrounded by the Arabian desert. But you'll find that today we all know Dubai. I don't even need to tell the story. We know what Dubai has become. So I think Kadoma is a small mining town. It's got promising yields and returns because there's low demand. So you'll find that the prices are good. And the beauty about Kadoma is that there's the gold boom. So you'll find that regardless of that, much of our infrastructure dates back to the colonial era. You'll find that we've been able to tap into our heritage, which is the gold of the city of Kadoma, and we've been able to put that back in development. So you'll find that the money that we're developing, the money that we're getting from our gold, it's now being used to even develop the city. So I think that's a real issue there, or something that we need to tap in as Africans. We need to look at our natural resources and shift them. You need to look at this international example of Dubai, and we need to push our natural resources back into our infrastructure. Zimbabwe story. Zimbabwe, it means house of stone, the great house of stone. And I think Zimbabwe it's got a lot of stories, a lot of we know Zimbabwe for many reasons, but I think looking at it from a youth perspective, I think we're doing quite well, because you'll find that the government of Zimbabwe has actually implemented what's known as the Munumtapa National Housing Scheme. Under the Munumtapa National Housing Scheme, they've managed to see that there's a very large demand for housing for young people. So the president has actually allocated across all 10 provinces land for young people to be able to get. So I think those are opportunities young people don't know about yet. And so far, even in Kadoma, as we speak, 150 hectares has been allocated for development. So that means very soon young people will get access to housing. There may be a lot of slow policy changes in real estate in Zimbabwe, and you'll find that a lot of the laws date back to the colonial era. And but I think that there's still hope. I think we have youth desks across all the ministries in Zimbabwe, and that's an opportunity for young people to go and engage the youth desks and say your words. And even further, the Constitution of Zimbabwe actually states that employment for young people is a right. It's not a fundamental, it's a right. So we've been given this right as young people to be employed, to perform and participate in the economy. So that's a very good thing that we have in our economy. Zimbabwe is also the fastest growing economy in SADC. And because of mining output, agriculture, recovery, and infrastructure investments, we're set to grow from 5 to 6%. So there's a lot of situations there. Then even under the Minister of Youth, Honorable Tunoda Machakaire, they've allocated $1 million for young people. And you can get this, you can access this funding at zero collateral, very low interest rates, very favorable payback periods with no collateral. They're even saying if you want to buy machinery, you can access that machinery and that becomes the collateral. So I think these are favorable terms that the government is giving young people. And the issue is that young people don't know this information. So I felt like it was a great opportunity to paint this picture. And I even like what the president says. The president says, Nika inovakwa nevenevai. This means a country is built by its own people. So this is something us young people need to wake up. We are the majority in this country. We consist 62% of the population. So I think it's time for young people to build their own country. The president is very right when he says, Nika inovakwa nevenevai. Next slide, please. Yeah, I think I touched on that. Next slide, please. Yes, so this is what I was saying. I think, sorry, I didn't say next slide, but I guess, as people are following, people are hearing me, I'll probably share the slide later, but we're now on what the journey taught me. So I think that there's a lot of lessons, not just textbook theory. Trust kills deals faster than lack of money. I think you must build a good reputation because that's your currency. You must have faith that moves mountains. It was my faith and my belief in God that I could build this legacy that I used. Start where you are with what you have. I think Kadoma, to me, wasn't a disadvantage. It was actually a niche, and I was able to build expertise and a reputation that precedes even me, and I'll probably want to leave a legacy behind as well. I think that youth is a strength and it's not an apology. As young people, we're the majority. I think we need to look at that and see that as a strength. And I think you need to build networks before you need them. Be kind to everyone, speak to a lot of people, always be that person who people can rely on, always be that person who is approachable. I think that's very important as young people. Let's build networks. Even the Young Entrepreneurship Network, that's a platform that we're building today. And I think Africa rewards those who stayed. Like I could have moved to any other country. I could have joined the diaspora market, but I felt like the opportunity was there. And I stayed, and I felt that it was my responsibility to build my country, my community, the continent as a whole. So I think this is perfect for us young people. We need to stay and have a mindset to build. Next slide, please. Africa's engine. So, like I said, 70% of the population is under 35, 500 people, a million people are moving to cities. The real estate market is valued at 1.4 trillion, and we need 10 times more houses in African cities. So I think young people, we can tap into that. And there's massive demand for housing. Young people must create commercial spaces, contribute to infrastructure, because this demand is going to last for 30 years. So I think we're going to inherit a lot of the infrastructure. So we need to contribute now so that when the time comes as we take up leadership positions as our generation, I think we also need to be leaders today and not just tomorrow. You know, we need to understand our communities, our cities, and the people that live in them. You know, and I think the window is today, you know, for especially for young people, the opportunity is now. Next slide, please. So this is a pyramid I created, or sort of what I think is a wealth pyramid, or maybe a master class into how you can sort of create wealth under property. The first is to have a success mindset, have passion, have vision, have purpose. The next stage is to learn, so build knowledge, skills, reputation, and a network. And the most important one, I think, is to take ruthless action. You know, be fearless. You know, the opportunities are for young people. Take them today. I think I'm very big on ownership. I think as young people, we need to own things. So that comes with cash flow. It comes with good yields, return on investment. I think once you reach that stage of ownership, you just have to be patient and look for growth. Then, you know, once you've got and mastered all these, you know, you unlock wealth. So I think those are good opportunities there, young people. Let's build wealth. As Africans, let's build wealth. You know, next stage, please. Um, so many opportunities on this continent. So many opportunities. There's an affordable housing gap. We need 50 million housing units across Africa. Government can't build them alone. So I think young people, let's step in. You know, the government, we must work hand in hand with the government. You know, the government is like a father. You go to your father, you speak to your father, you tell your father your issues, and your father listens. So I think that's something we must look into. There's a prop tech revolution. The old generation is not tech savvy. Let me be honest, they're not technical people. And I think as young people, we understand AI better. We understand the opportunity. So I think let's tap into that as young people. Then the diaspora. Guys, did you know that $104 billion annually comes into Africa through remittances? So I think there's a big market there. As young people, let's tap into the diaspora market because they send a lot of money annually. 104 billion is not a small number. So I think let's tap into that, you know. Let's also look at secondary cities. Kadoma is a secondary city. It's a very small city, but you'll find that the competition is less, there's faster growth, there's better yields in small cities. So when you find that there's competition somewhere, you know, don't be scared to move from where you are and look for opportunities where they're easy. You know, travel like around your countries, look around. There's so many opportunities. Then agricultural land. I think agricultural land is the next big real estate play because Africa as a whole holds 45% of the world's agricultural land. So and we only use 6% of it. So I think considering that by 2043 we import $510 billion in food, I think land, African land, especially agricultural land, is essentially an untapped real estate market that no one is looking at right now because the numbers 45%, that's arable land, and we are only using 6. So, and imagine the fact that we're importing more food than we produce. So I think there's a very big gap there that we need to tap in as youth. Then there's now REITs and fractional ownership. REITs are a big thing now in Zimbabwe. What started with 1 in 2-3 years ago has become 5 now. So I think there's a lot of growth there. Next slide, please. I think this is a message to young people in this room that you're not too young. You're not in the wrong city. If I was able to get to where I am from a small town, I think you can do it too. You don't need to wait for permission because nobody's going to give it to you. You know, build the table you want and sit at it. Your first property doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be yours. And I think Africa's greatest builders are not yet famous. You know, they're sitting in the room. They're sitting right now listening to this conversation. And I think the continent is calling for you as builders. Next slide, please. So I think your move I think it's our move as young people. You know, Africa doesn't need more dreamers. Africa needs builders. So I think let's constantly learn new skills across different areas. Let's read widely. Let's access information. We're living in an information age. You know, visit multiple towns in your country and train yourself to constantly hunt for new opportunities. Our ancestors were hunters, guys. So I think let's hunt for opportunities as young people. Let's connect with all of Africans. I love this platform. I connect with someone from Rwanda, from Kenya. Let's connect with all Africans. Let's build wealth as Africans. Let's think of the future of our continent. Let's be passionate, bold, hungry. Let's have vision. Let's be fearless. You know, let's have financial literacy. Let's save money to invest money, not save money to buy things we don't need. Let's use money to make more money, because that's the purpose of money. Let's build 17 income streams. Let's build, guys. And next slide. Thank you so much. I'm done.
My goodness gracious, Mr. Makanaka, what a story, what an inspiration story, what a journey as a young person. Well done, well done, well done. My goodness gracious, I like the fact that you said youth is strength, not an apology. So we must move. We are movers, and then we must move now. And then the second point, when you say the power of starting where you are, my goodness, you have started, and then you take that leap of faith, and then now you've achieved so much. You have built this business that you have now. You're building the legacy. I love your energy. My goodness gracious. Thank you so much for that presentation. As a young person, we draw a lot from that inspirational story. Your journey is amazing. So I am glad that you are in this platform to inspire other young person who want to start as well the business. So that was very impactful. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you for that.
Thank you.
All right. 100%. So now we're going to move to our next speaker. I just love the flow of this session. It's going very well, and we are getting, educated and empowered. So now we are going to the next speaker. We are going to Mrs. Moleboheng Molotsi. She's going to also come in and inspire us as well. Are you ready with your presentation?
I'm ready.
Moleboheng? All right, 100%. You can display your presentation, and the floor will be yours. 100%. I see you are ready. You can go.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Albert, please, next slide. Okay, so when I was looking at the topic, I was thinking, okay, where do I start? Because as you said, moderator, it is very broad. I didn't know which way to go, what to leave out. So I thought, okay, maybe let me outline first what kind of businesses there are in property. So there's property valuations where a property value will be registered with the SACPVP. There's real estate agency. These days we call them property practitioners in South Africa. They are registered with the PPRA. There's town planning consultancy that one can go into. They are registered with SACPlan. There's architecture consultancy. They are registered with SACAP. So we have all these regulatory bodies in South Africa that make sure that, we keep our work up to standard. There's conveyancing. These are the property lawyers that make sure that, transfers are registered when property is bought and sold. There's property management. You can go into long-term rentals, where the traditional leases and short-term rentals these days. You can put your property up on Airbnb. You can have, if you have a holiday home, if you are blessed enough in this economy to have a holiday home, then you can also throw that onto Airbnb. I've seen crazy, crazy amounts being charged per day. I was watching listing Cape Town. There's properties there that charge like 100K, 200K per day, per day. I kid you not. There's property development. The property development is quite an expensive one to get into as a young person who doesn't have the money. Fix and flip, you can identify properties that aren't in such a good condition anymore, fix them up, flip them, sell them for more, than what you bought them for, and make money that way as you go along. This is quite expensive as well. It requires you to have some money in your pocket. The back room or informal market. So there's something happening in South Africa, in Cosmo City. I don't know how many people know Cosmo City, where it started out looking at as something that wasn't as big, where people would start off in the back room. So there's a main house, and then the yard is big enough to have outbuildings. People would then build outbuildings and start putting tenants in those outbuildings and start collecting rentals every month. That thing grew so much that Cosmo City now has 4 million rand, 5 million rand properties. Imagine if you have 20, 22, whatever tenants, number of tenants, 16, and each of them is paying you like 5,000 rand a month or so. You stand to make a killing. And it started off as something that looked very small, and it looked like it wasn't going to become anything. Cosmo City is also located close to Sandton, close to Fourways. So even location, if you're going to do something like that, like the back room or informal market, you need to see what is the location, what are you close to, where are the amenities, because that's what people want. Property market data collection and analysis. This is another type of business that one can go into when considering going into business that's property related. Because what we see when we're doing valuations is that there are places that don't have much in terms of property data. Places like the Northern Cape, if you're doing valuations there. So we need solutions. We need somebody who's going to have the data for us valuers. What you need to get started when you're doing a business in the property space, firstly, you need a passion, you need ambition, you need that fire in your soul, that thing that says, I want to do this thing. You need the guts to do it. You need to be brave. You can't afford to sit in a corner and hope that someone is going to come do something for you. You need the knowledge or training or skill. So identify what it is that you're good at and keep getting better at that thing. If you don't know, go find out how to get better and train. Discomfort, stretch yourself, because I saw this thing that no growth happens in the comfort zone. And I think it's very true that if you're going to be in a corner somewhere and you're not going to stretch yourself, you're not going to learn a new skill, you're not going to, then there's no growth that is going to happen. You need to be uncomfortable. You need to be able to go and stretch yourself. You need to have an imagination also. You need to think beyond even things that you've been taught. Think beyond what you grew up knowing, what you grew up being used to. Think beyond the normal things and imagine something bigger for yourself. You need to have a goal. Identify what problem you are trying to solve. This is becoming the theme of the day. Identify the problem that you're trying to solve. What solution are you coming up with? I love that we each prepared our own presentations separately, but here we are now. There's a common thread running through all of our presentations. You need to have a mentor, a confidant, a partner. Identify someone in the industry that you can look up to, that can help you, but also someone close enough to you, like a friend or a wife or a husband or something, that you can do this life thing with. It's okay if you're alone. There's no problem with being alone. But have a go-to person that you can bounce ideas off of. And when I talk about partners, I also want to say to the youth, it's very important to marry right, marry correctly. Don't marry somebody who's always going to bash you. If you're coming with an idea, someone who's going to say, what are you trying to do? Who in your family has done that? Are you crazy? Sit down. Someone who's going to shoot you down with everything that you try. So it's you need to marry correct. I can't stretch that. It's very important. Capital. We always think capital, we always think we need money to start, but I think it's the first speaker or the second one that said the biggest thing is your mind, is your brain, is you, your ideas, and you and you and you. That's your biggest capital. And see, I have this as well. Start where you are and start with what you have. So I'm loving how this is just flowing and we are saying the same things. It shows also, if you're there listening, it shows that we're not lying. We can't all be saying the same things if it's not true. I started with what I had. I started with where I was. I used to bake. I baked to buy this laptop that I'm using now. I baked long hours standing there by the oven, until I saved enough money to buy the laptop. So to identify what is it that you are good at, that can take you to the thing that you really want to do, where you really want to be. Do this thing, save the money, and get to the place where you really want to go. Next slide, please. So the keys to ensure sustainability in the property business, with the way things are moving now, I don't think we have a choice. We need to embrace technology. We need to leverage on technology. We need to open up ourselves to learn continuously. We can't afford to be stuck in, oh, this is how things were done in whenever. Move with the times, move with the tech, embrace the tech. Diversify, have multiple streams of income. As one of the speakers also said that because property is cyclical, if this one section is not doing well, then see, okay, maybe let me move into real estate management for now. Maybe let me check out how the sales are doing for now. Maybe let me see valuations. Let me see, move around in the property space and see how you can keep making money. Innovation and tech in the property business. So for this section, I try to identify people that are working in the property space, what they are doing in their spaces, what tech they are using in their spaces. So some in real estate agency, I'll start there. There's now these days virtual property tours. Someone will say, I'm in France, I'm busy. I want a property in Cape Town. I'm not gonna come. So organize, I want to see the property. So this is now things are starting to move that way, where people are not flying out to see the property anymore. They're doing virtual tours. Personalized property recommendations, matching property to buyer. So now there's systems that are available. Someone can put in, I like this. I want a property here. And then properties are flagged that person can like. Automated negotiations. There's systems now that do all these things, and you have a computer in front of you, the seller, the buyer, the agent, where things are now done computer wise. We don't have to go sit and have many papers in front of us anymore. Drones are also being used a lot. Social media is also being used a lot. Conveyancers now, this thing called RegCom. Someone somewhere identified that the the post office, the South African post office isn't working how it used to work anymore. So when it came to registered mail and the conveyancers needed to get registered mails to people, someone said and saw the problem and said, okay, let me come up with RegCom. RegCom, you send letters and communication via the system, and the courts accept the system. It's very reliable. It's you don't have to now do it on paper, go to the post office, stamp it anymore. It's now tech. We are moving with the tech. There's now smart contracts. There's blockchain, where now title deeds are being more secure. Deeds officers are using this to make sure that title deeds can't be altered, that fraud is reduced. in property management space, automated energy management. This is now for if you're owning a smart building. AI-driven surveillance in smart buildings, where you can identify if someone is trying to get in fraudulently, and the system alerts police in real time. So you put in your biometric there, you are a fraudster trying to get into the building, the system immediately alerts, police that there's someone trying to get in that we don't know. So buildings are moving, and as buildings, smart buildings, as they move, and tenants are also spotting that, and tenants want to be in such buildings. We're seeing that here in South Africa, where people are moving, companies are moving away from the Joburg CBD, moving to your Sandtons, moving to your Rosebank, where smart and green buildings are. People don't want those grade C buildings anymore. They want these smart buildings that can do this. And that speaks to value, because if a tenant prefers this building, then obviously now that speaks to value, and vacancy rates are obviously now gonna go down. So yeah, tech is moving, and we need to move right along with it. You now have predictive maintenance systems, where the system can let you know if the HVAC systems need maintenance. If something is going wrong, you need to be alert, and then you can save on future repairs. There's integrated service requests, where a tenant in a building doesn't now need to pick up the phone and report that the lift is not working, this is not working. They can pick up the app and quickly report through an app that come attend to this, come attend to that. It saves time. Yeah. Automated leases and smart contracts. Okay, I've already spoken about smart contracts. In valuations, we see AI in automated valuation management, automated valuation models. We see GIS mapping. We make use of drones as well. Yeah, things are just moving so fast. Next slide, please, Albert. The trends shaping property businesses, like I just touched on, it's artificial intelligence, it's in the Internet of Things, it's blockchain. When I researched a little bit, I saw that it's not currently backed by the international valuation standards, but maybe it's something that they will start to look into. Big data analysis and predictive analysis. This looks into market trends analysis, where someone can identify investment opportunities and risks. This will result in enhanced profitability and reduced uncertainty. So if, like I said, we have limited information in a region such as the Northern Cape, you can try to get in touch with valuers and say, okay, valuers in the Northern Cape, what is it that's giving you a problem exactly? What information are you trying to find? Is it the cap rates that you can't determine? Is it the sales that you're not finding? What is it? Then you make it your problem to go find that and then come and sell it to the valuers. Big data can also assist with fraud detection, check credit history of potential tenants, and so on. The challenges potential challenges with this technology is data privacy. There's still concerns around data privacy. Cybersecurity, can they be hacked? How safe are they? High implementation costs. Governments seem unsure how to regulate the space, and a resistance to change might be small, but there are some people that are resistant to technology. There are. Next slide, please. Oh, I'm done. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate your presentation. I like the fact that you outline all the careers under our sector so that young people can see where they can also start their own business. And then number two, the flow of what we are talking about when we said what problem are you solving? So you're also echoing on that as well. And I like what you said about no growth happens in the comfort zone. So there's no room to be comfortable. We need to be able to, pop those bubbles that we're in, and then make sure that we build ourselves. Because running a business is not easy. It's very difficult, but yet it is doable. So thank you so much for your presentation, Moleheng. We really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay. As we move on, just to remind everyone that we are still under a topic of saying building sustainable property businesses, innovation, technology, and future trends in property. And I think that we've been unpacking this very well so far. The flow of presentation from our speakers, I'm telling you, it's amazing. So we're going to go to our last speaker, Mr. Comfort Jumbe. Please prepare your presentation and flag it. And then when you're ready, the platform is yours. Mr. Comfort, are you still with us? Mr. Comfort Jumbe? All right, I see your E now. You can flag your presentation and then you can go ahead. Mr. Comfort? Can you please unmute your mic? We can't hear you. Please unmute so that we can hear you. Can anyone on the panel, are you guys hearing Mr. Comfort?
No.
Yeah, on my side, I can't hear Mr. Comfort. We can see you, but we can't hear you. All right. While we wait for him to sort the technology on his side, because he's the last speaker, we then gonna jump to the Q&As. So before we do that, okay, I see it's getting ready, but I'm gonna read the question on the chat box, and then from there I will then open up the platform. But because now he's up, let him present, and then we'll go on the Q&A after that. Mr. Comfort, are you with us?
Yes, I'm with you.
Okay, we can hear you now.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay.
Yeah, you can take the platform. You just muted yourself again. I see your mic is muted.
What I'm doing is I have two screens open. So you're seeing it from one, then I'm switching to another. But I don't want to have the background audio. I think you can hear the echoes, which is what I want to do. Yeah, that's the thing I want to do. Right.
So that we can be able to, okay, it's been live stream, okay. Mr. Comfort, can you hear us? Mr. Comfort? Okay. So to all the speakers or the panelists, I'm gonna read questions on the chat box, and then one of you guys can just raise a hand and answer the question as well. So I'm gonna go to our chat box. We've got a question from. Let's go to the first one on top. We've got Mr. Bush Victor. My goodness, he posed a long question, but yeah, let's read it, and then one of our panelists then can be able to answer that. He said that why are technology entrepreneurs becoming becoming some of the wealthiest people in the world, often overtaking traditional real estate investors and developers. So just to maybe clarify on that. So he's saying that more technology entrepreneurs are becoming more richer than the other ones, which are traditional real estate investors and developers. Is it because the technology sector actively empower young people, encourage and innovate and create opportunity for startup to grow into global companies? So I'll just post that to our panelists. I see Mr. Emmanuel, you're ready to answer that. You can come in.
I wasn't ready to answer that, but I think the question that he has posed, it's a question that is very subjective. Why do I say so? There are so many people that have got land holdings that we don't know or are aware of. So the valuations of those property land holdings, we are not very much aware of. And I think from my presentation, I think there's something that I mentioned. No good thing comes from showing people that you've got money. There are a lot of people that are wealthy that don't like to be known that they are wealthy. So it's relatively very subjective to say the people that are in the technology space are making more money, growing their businesses to becoming global as compared to the traditional real estate assets. One thing that we can speak for, and I'm going to stick to my circle of competence because I'm in real estate, is this. We all know that land is finite. And as land is finite, there is always demand for land. The land use might change, but people will definitely all want to be using land. All that technology that we are speaking of, the technology companies need to be housed in real estate. The data centers need to be housed in real estate. So the question now becomes, is technology more relevant as compared to real estate? I don't think so. So I think that would help to answer the question to Mr. I hope he's helped Mr. Victor.
Mr. Victor, yeah, I also hope that Mr. Victor is answered. I would like to move on to the next question. It says, looking at the housing programs you mentioned, are those opportunities open to external youth, and what are age range for youth in Zim? I think this is for Mr. Makanaka. So if Mr. Manaka, you can just unmute yourself and answer the question. So let me just repeat it. It says, looking at the housing programs you mentioned, meaning in your presentation, are those opportunities open to external youth, and what's the age range for youth in Zim?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so the Constitution of Zimbabwe states that a young person or a youth is someone between the ages of 18 and 35. So anything stipulated in Zimbabwe that says youth, it's between the ages of 18 and 35. And this usually is falling for Zimbabwean-born young people. So this is open for everyone, whether you're in the rural areas, whether you're in the urban areas. The government has been very clear, the president has been very clear that no one and no place will be left behind. So across all 10 provinces, young people in Zimbabwe are going to get land, whether they're in the rural area, whether they're in the urban areas, as long as they're between the ages of 18 and 35.
All right. No, thank you so much for that, Mr. Makanaka. So going on a checkbox, people are just say well done for the presentation and an inspiration. Well done, Mr. Mavesere. Yeah, your story really empowered and inspired a lot of people on the chat box. And then people, they were asking if the presentation will be shared. Albert will share that, and the WhatsApp group as well. Albert said the WhatsApp group will be up from Tuesday, up and running from Tuesday. And then Elvis just agree with Emmanuel in terms of the technology versus real estate. So yeah, that is that. We're just gonna run through to Mr. Comfort Jumbe. If you are ready, then we can give you the platform. After that, we're gonna allow people to raise their hands and ask questions to the panel.
All right, thank you. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. You can go.
Oh, thank you. All right, my apologies. I think I had a couple of platforms open since it's just morning here, so the day has just started. A couple of things I need to check and stuff like that, but still more since I subscribed to take part in this great initiative, I just had to put away the rest of the things. So let's get started without much ado. I ascribe my appreciation to the Academy of Construction for this opportunity. A lot has been said already. We need this environment so that we can keep going. So I've also seen that most of the previous presenters have exactly talked a lot about the things. I like my sister who just finished presenting to say there's a common theme that we can see, which is going on here, where we have been given topics and then we are sharing our perspectives, which is very interesting. So this seemingly is benefiting the audience to understand the dimensions of how we look at every of those topics from where we are and what interactions and environments that we're in. But truthfully, as broad as this topic was, it's coming at a time that we need to answer the questions, not only for now, but also for the future, because maybe we might not have another topic like this pretty soon, but we are amidst a time where change is happening, and change is happening greatly. Every presenter has mentioned about that. So I might also give another perspective alongside what other presenters have pointed out, maybe just to continue to edify the context and increase our broad understanding of the things. What I would like to say pretty much is to point out the fact that with the topic and with this institution, the Youth Entrepreneur Network, the goal is to equip and empower youngsters to be able to tap into this market. We know the issues that are on the ground. Now, the most critical thing is to say, and it has already been pointed out, to say you should understand the lens at which you are to build what you want to have to build. And one thing I want to point out is mostly to say there's a profound question we need to ask as someone who wants to tap into this market. Are you going to build something that is profitable? So that's a broad question, but it needs to be answered because there are other people that are also doing the same. So there's nature of competition. You need to understand the competition. If you're trying to do something that is duplicating what is existing, you can hardly grow because other people are already in connections and they might choke you and suffocate you from growth. Then that calls for a need for unique value proposition. How are you going to leverage your opportunity so that what you are presenting to the people? I like my brother, I think from Cameroon, he was pointing about the need to understand the specific angle, and he was saying they are focusing on gated community developments. I think it's still very important to see, after understanding the gap of the market, and see where do you want to penetrate to bring that impact. Otherwise, it's not easy. And also, as I pointed earlier on, will people be willing to pay for the product that you want to put up? Because if you look at our industry, there are some other companies that are like multinational. They were Western companies. They came to Africa. They are very established. They have models that are connected and they are trusted by the corporates. You just can't come up with your company and try to penetrate and break forth from that. And also there are now local traditional companies that we, the people that are the blood of Africa, have come up with. We are now inclined to our associations. They are mostly family oriented. We don't just take everyone else along the company. So you know that you're fighting with that kind of environment. It's not just going to be easy for you to easily penetrate. So when you put up a product, you should understand really whether people will pay for it. That goes with a point that we need also to understand deeply the pain points. There are pain points in Africa that must be leveraged by technology. That's the only advantage that we have to help things go. There was a very diversified perspective that was shared about how to fund the developments. The bottom line is that, yeah, you don't have to be afraid of it, which was already echoed. But another key point is that trying to use the banks to borrow happens to be a very hard way to grow, because it's still hard because the interest rates are high. If you borrow to get things up, it's not going to work. The point that I had put initially, which was pretty much at the beginning, this one, the myth that we have always had, is that if you're a valuer, it looks like you are better off than a land surveyor, a quantity surveyor, or an architect, or a physical planner, because you just need a folder, a file, and a pen, and start your work. You don't need a serious thing. You just need to have an office. But our friends would need to have some software. They need to have equipment, which are very expensive. So it seemed like it was easy for us to launch and get started. But this is no longer the case now, because if you do the things that other people are doing, you will be like the same. You can't really grow, and it's really hard to get there. Excuse me. Another great opportunity is that we have the African Free Trade Agreement, which now opens up an opportunity for almost everyone, that we can, if we have the guts, we can grow our businesses across the continent. This is a very great blessing that Mother Nature has gifted us with, because previously this was really hard. But it looks like we have not really taken advantage of this opportunity. I appreciate the initiative that Academy of Construction is doing, so that we should continue to do this. There are other platforms as well that are also doing this, but this is a core that we should wake up to say it's time to collaborate and build our networks to be able to go as far as we can if we have the energy to do so. These realities that I mentioned are very important to appreciate, to say, if we don't understand our battlefield, where are we going to do this business? Because whether we like it or not, we are not socialists, we are capitalists. So there is always competition with your competitors. So we should know that there's resistance to change. Traditional companies find it hard to change. If you have been working at different places, maybe you were on attachments, or maybe you are currently working there, and you see that you have a degree of your qualification, but what you are really doing is basic stuff, because they really don't want to change. And if you try to innovate their ideas, you just don't easily get along, because people are like, we cannot just adopt this. Maybe it's too early, or maybe we just don't want to do it. And another important thing, which is also very common to Africa, I mean, Malawi and many other African countries, maybe it is less of an effect in South Africa, because I was there at some time, and I've learned a lot about how the property market in SA works. But the issue of illegal estate agents is a big thing that we are seeing, that more than 70 or 80% of properties that are sold in the market are sold by the illegal estate agents. And us as professionals, people who have gone to colleges, gotten our qualifications, we are bottlenecked by having problems to license, because they want us to work for maybe minimum of 2 years. We need to have someone to mentor us. And also the companies are not willing to employ more people. And then government is also not able to employ more people. So it leaves us in the gap, clearly waiting for someone who can train and mentor us, so that with that we can use that to get licensed. And then the issue of lack of data to help you to do the work is still there, and it's a fact. But when we move on from there, we should appreciate why we should wake up to this call, because having a situation where you are a valuer, you say you want to be valuing properties, yet when you're trying to value a property, you do not use another person's valuation report to come with your competent report. You need to understand the markets, which properties are selling, where are they selling, who are buying, which properties sales are outliers. Maybe they are family businesses, or maybe they are sold by outlier buyers who maybe wanted to just eliminate other people from a certain market segment. Everyone, I think, around Africa, we now know that there are some other communities that people would buy properties there because they don't want other states of people to go there. So those are nuances that are local in our markets. And if we are not part of what is going on, if we are not in the deals of buying and selling properties, we miss on the opportunity of understanding how the markets are moving. And you can see the impact of the illegal agents to say how the property prices are increasing over time because are only driven by commission and people who do not understand the issues of interest rates, people who do not understand how demand and supply affects the value. We're increasingly seeing that the gap between the wealth and the poor, even in our local countries, is widening because the houses are unaffordable. If you look at the price at which a property is being sold, this is the income that is generating, you see that property is not really a profitable business to someone who is an investor because he's spending 100% of their money, say maybe $15,000, but on monthly basis is getting nothing. To say, if you look at the rate of return, like payback period, it's more than 20 years, which doesn't make sense if you compare other property types that you may want to invest in. So this is something that needs to be fixed. And I would also maybe try to talk about how unstable our economies are. I appreciate, for instance, South Africa, where I think interest rate doesn't just change anyhow. But in most of the African countries, this is not the case. See, the interest rates will change, there will be devaluation and stuff like that. Because these sales, the property sales, which are connected to banks, because banks release money from their coffers, because people are buying and selling. Yet those prices are not governed by people who are understanding the market, but people who are only inspired by the commission. It continues to distort the market in general because people who need to understand the market and inform about the market are not taking the place. This is a very serious concern that brings a call to us as appraisers or as valuers or as estate agents, because we have gone to school, we have learned the theories, we can correct the market, because sometimes even some properties are saying it's too long on the market, maybe a year, because maybe it was wrongly priced and they are now failing to get back to the reality to say, maybe this is a better way it will be corrected. All those are opportunities that could be taken up by we who are graduates, who have gone to school and are willing to get dirty to get properties, because the reason why the registered people are failing to get properties is because they're not willing to go down and do the dirty work of searching and finding properties. They're not making noise on social media a lot so that people can see them. But this this situation makes us realize that we need to call back our profession so that we can influence and do more from it. There was a case in Malawi that would be an interesting part to say, even in some scenarios where maybe people who are not qualified to do the work, or maybe there's a gap in data that you're using to do a evaluation, there are some variances that are going on to say the same property that is being valued by a couple of people, one same property but valued by different people, giving you different values. And our profession is mostly now exposed for critique. People are saying, do you just guess the numbers? How do you really establish to really know what you are coming up with as a value? So there's a strong need now as well to say, how do you build your reputation? How do you show that what you have done can be defended even in the court of law when you want to do arbitration work? These are very serious questions because even clients and the stakeholders or the banks are asking more questions. They are asking more from us because if you look at, or if you understand the nature of lending, which is where most of the work comes from a valuer, the bank knows that in property sector, there are risks. It doesn't want to take that risks. It employs a valuer to come do the work because it knows that if anything goes wrong, that one must be pointed out to be the person who caused the problem. So if we are not ready to arm ourselves with tools that helps us to do good work so that we can do defensible work, we become the victims of the system that is broken. Because the lack of data is because illegal agents are in the mainstay. But we are asked to do valuations because they can't do valuations. Yet we are doing the valuations not on the premise of information that we can rely on and we can use and defend when there's a need for that call. So that's why it's a time that we should understand the problems that we have. We should know we have to rise to this occasion. If we cannot, this might affect the growth of our industry as we know it in Africa, the real estate sector in general. So, having said that, the issue is while all this is happening, it's happening also at an era where disruption for technology is at play. Every presenter has pointed about this. And, excuse me. Every presenter has pointed about this, and there are only two outcomes out of this. I like that even like when I looked at the presentation for the rest of my presenter, I might be wrong, of course, is that we were really inspired by technology, maybe how we built it, how we did what, which is where things are headed. There's no time where we could be busy, just use Excel for, I mean, PowerPoint, just PowerPoint publisher, just developing and writing all those things, or researching about information, or finding problems. We are all relying to technology. So there are only two outcomes that are coming, which is you either adapt and survive, or you close the door and it ends. And the key thing is that we not have to ask the question whether the wave is coming, but that will it find us standing when it fully arrives. I do property appraisals here. Okay, in US we call it a property appraisal. So even with my journey when I got licensed, because I was in Africa, I've been in Africa the rest of my time. I came here about 5-6 years ago. I knew I was a registered valuer in Malawi. I wanted to still continue that path while here. So I had to go the processes of doing everything, because most people that come to the US, they don't really do what they were trained to do if they have qualifications. Because I was like, I had my postgrad in real estate as well. So I was like, why should I do something different to what I was doing? So my passion was to really get exposed and learn and follow the path so that I can become a valuer. It's not easy, I want to be honest with everyone, but I pursued it. And the beauty with that is that while here doing valuations and appraisal, how we do, I'm actually seeing the changes as they happen, how companies are changing. I like my friend, my brother, I think, is it my brother or my sister? Maybe either my vicinity or maybe my sister who just listened to presented, who said that companies are shrinking in sizes. Companies are getting smaller. And his point, of course, was to say, what does that mean for properties that are rented out? But that also brings a question to us to say, what does that mean for us youngsters who are thinking of being employed by some company, or who are looking forward to start our own establishments? Because in that time where companies are getting smaller, which is not only for real estate, but every other industry, companies are getting smaller because they're adopting technology. There's no need for so many people to do these things. Most of the things are automated. I will speak to this point as well to say, how is the technology dismantling valuation as we know it? No need to do work origination, order management, or property inspection, or comparable data gathering, or valuation analysis and reporting, or to do time-sensitive report production. Don't need to spend 3 days writing single report, because technology is here to help you do that. And my fellow presenters has pointed at that as well. The same goes to a state agency. If you have 5 properties that you're selling, you don't have to struggle receiving calls to people, scheduling or accepting offers and refusing offers, which is what illegals are busy doing. So if we, people who want to enter this market, can take advantage of these tools and be smarter than the illegal practitioners, it gives us an opportunity to leverage on those. Because if we have 5 properties who act smartly, then they do, because they are busy up and down going to show. Once some person goes in the morning, another person goes in the afternoon. They are busy, their life is very mobile, and they are not orderly like that. People calling them even at night. It's chaotic, but it gives us an opportunity to say, with all this that is coming in and changing, we should see where is value. So where is value? My friends have also pointed out to that, to say, the new gold is in relationship management. If you are an estate agent, build better relationships, or do speedy execution of your work, or understand your local dynamics. I mentioned a point about understanding who are buying, who are selling. Some people, maybe they are politically exposed people. They buy for that. Maybe some purchases are connected to harvest season. We know most of the countries, maybe they are mostly export dependent or import dependent, or maybe agro-based, or maybe they are mining based. There are times when money flow in through those projects. That's when even sales happen. So when you understand your local nuances, things that AI cannot understand, that's why your leverage is to say, on top of what AI can do to you, what additional things can you provide? For valuations, you don't really need to do all the writing the report 2-3 days, labeling pictures and images, or changing colors to increase how it enhances how it looks. But you have to have expert knowledge. You have to have credibility and strategic value, and you also have to adopt the technology. Those are the new gold elements that you have to embrace as you try to take your place. Now, what inspired us to take this path was how we do it at Variations Africa and IMOX Estate. Those are two companies that I said I'm a CEO for. The continent is moving. I mentioned that it's either we survive or we get pushed by the wave. So what we have noted in Africa to say that graduates, the industry, as we know it, the real estate industry must be taken up by people who are professionals, who are trained, because just as engineering, law or medicine, people who are not licensed cannot practice. So it's only when we can rise to save the day. So we came up with, what we do is we came up with a software solution that helps people who are buying and selling properties, or rather estate agents who are helping people buy and sell properties. And we also came up with a solution that is helping property valuers to do their work. So even for people who have graduated, they are not licensed yet, we provide a better way that can help even a person who is a valuer who has his own company, or either an estate agent who has his own company, to still work with someone who will not become their employee, who they will not pay money to, but they can share knowledge to, and both them benefit and the company benefits, because that person brings the property to them and they sell the property and they get a commission out of the way. We're also expanding this to become a model that is franchise-like to reach out Africa, because we are not disrupting the existing way. We are supporting the professionals to take back the market, because the illegal people that are in the practice are creating more chaos than we know. There are a lot of issues that come up, a lot of concerns, even people giving distribute. Some people are switching from real estate, thinking maybe this is not the best profession that they had to go to, because it seems like a little more chaotic. So it's time we could rise to redeem the day. And that comes easily by technology. And a specific thing about what we do is that with the model that we take, we do not value properties. We believe that valuers are the ones to do valuations, but we help them with whatever they need. They don't need to struggle if they're doing mass valuations, or they're doing a couple of five or six properties that they're doing. If they are getting orders from the bank, all that should be automated and streamlined, so that the process, their work, can be shortened, can be minimized. Because if a valuer wants to put up a system like this, it might take them time. They might not have better connections, or even finding properties that they want to put in their system might be a hurdle that can choke their growth. We feel like the valuers must grow, and we should just provide them a platform to help them do that. Also about selling and buying properties, we do not sell properties ourselves. So we're not a competitor to an estate agent. Anyone who wants to become an estate agent is free to do what they do. We only give them a platform to streamline, and also authority. I think I like one of the members who also pointed out that buyers are not only in our countries, they are in other African countries, they are in the Western worlds. So there are a lot of people, even some people who are in diaspora, they want to buy properties, but check where they find properties. They go to Facebook, they go to platforms that they don't really know the people, they don't trust them. So there's always been a need to have a platform that can elevate professionals, that people can see that these people are verified, they are trusted, and they can do business. So our goal, our platform, is to do that, to say, we have people who are professionals. We know they are working properties, so we support them to grow, to exist. If you want to start your own company, start your own establishment, we support you to grow, not to compete with you. So the model is trying to address the old age where we have choked the growth. If you look at the universities, they're busy graduating students, but if you look at the industry, very few are being taken up. So we say, while this is happening, but we know so the industry, there are no professionals that are good enough to support the industry. So we are trying to solve that problem, to say, how can we still see the pipeline still go and not affect the existing professionals who want to protect their cake, while also not choking the future of youngsters who have graduated and they want to see their future going and getting married, getting married right. Yeah, so maybe one thing that I could say, if there's this link that anyone could check it out, which I think maybe I might put in the channel. If any other people want to find out more about what we do or check with anything, I think when we share I think I might also maybe share in the conversation the link that you can just ask a few questions, and then as we expanding our model, we can always have a conversation to that. My final point to what is going on here, which is echoed by most of the members, is to say we are no longer in a time where we can maintain to be doing real estate using paper and a pen. We have to adapt, we have to adopt. There are some technologies and some tools and websites or automations that we can build even when we don't know how to code. And also, it's not about when this is going to happen or other industries are going to be changed. The work of the future, when you are 40s or 50s or 60s, the evaluation will not look like this, the thing we do now. So the only good thing we can do now is to adapt and change. There will be turbulence going on in our economies. It won't be easy, because just as we were in agricultural revolution, where the world was changing from using our fathers as people who were working in the gardens, replacing them with steam engine. Now the AI and robotics are taking up the role and work that we were doing, which shall make people slightly irrelevant, but it's only how you position yourself to be relevant in this space. If it is possible for you to grow, try to find ways to grow. But if you may not grow, there's no other option, because if you just stay the way it is, it will not be possible to accelerate. It's only when you are using tools that you should be able to grow. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Comfort Jumbe, for that insightful presentation. We really appreciate that. You know, the flow of the presentation, it just connects. And then back to our topic, I think that all the delegates or whoever who joined, they've got what they wanted. You know, I think now we're empowered and we know how to wake up tomorrow morning and start putting everything or implement everything that we have learned today. So on the chat box, Albert said everyone who register will be sent an email and WhatsApp so that you guys can join and get the presentation as well. So when I look on our chat box, we've got a hand up from Ipeleng Lesicha. He wants to ask a question. So this question then, Ipeleng, you just unmute yourself, introduce yourself, where you're from, and then the question is it's based on which panelist, or it's just a general one. Thank you. You can unmute yourself. Ipeleng Lesicha, I see you raised your hand. You can go. Okay, I think maybe he's struggling with the network on his side. Anyone with a question before we can close the session? We are on a Q&A session now, so I just want to see hands and question as well. So when you unmute yourself, you just tell us your name and from which company or what do you do as your profession, and then you can get the platform. Ipeleng Lesicha, I see your hand is up. You can unmute yourself.
Hi. I don't think it's my hand. I think it's something is wrong. I didn't raise my hand because it doesn't show from my side.
Okay, no, thank you so much. On my side, I see your hand is up, but yeah, thank you so much for that. Anyone with a question for the panelists? You can raise your hand, then we can quickly go to your questions. After that, we can then wrap up our session. All right. I don't see any hand, so I think that we good to go. Thank you so much to all our panelists. Thank you for taking your time and come and impact knowledge to young people as we are building a generation of a future generation of our property practitioners and property professionals. So thank you so much. We really appreciate your time out here. There's somebody who unmuted. Okay, Mr. Comfort. Okay, it's fine. So on the link, you will see, I mean, on the chat box, there are links that you can click on and then be able to register and get some information on that. Mr. Comfort was saying that there's a link on his presentation. So it's there on the chat box. Just click on that and be able to access that information that he was talking about. Thank you so much. I think now we can adjourn our session. Thank you.
On behalf of the Academy of Construction and Real Estate, I would just like to give a thank you to our moderator for his excellent flow and for managing us today. I want to thank our speakers, Mr. Comfort, Ms. Mlewehengi, Dr. Simon, Parsons, my good friend, Mr. Emmanuel, along as well as the Rose amongst the Thorn, Mr. Mlewehengi, and not forgetting you, Mr. Comfort, as well. I hope to see you again on our WhatsApp line, on WhatsApp channel, and everybody will have access to all the presentations from today's presentation to all the way to Monday's presentation, and you can use those to catch up and to engage. Yeah. And if you need us, you can find us at our socials at 1 Acre. At 1 Acre across all of our Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and X. And also, please also follow our partners, SAIPA, that's the South African Institute for Youth in Property. You can follow them on their social across all, and also follow one of our partners as well, that's SAIPA, the South African Institute for Property Practitioners, who also helped us put this together. Thank you very much, everyone. May you have a pleasant and good evening, and we apologize for taking most of your evening, but thank you very much for joining us. Have a lovely evening. Cheers. Bye.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Albert.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yes.